Welcome to the marathon for season 2 of this little show that still doesn't have a name. Today we're going to look at about 3 hours, more than 3 hours of UAP clip debunking. One episode back to back with the next one. It's exciting. I'm hyped to bring you guys this content. If you enjoy it, please don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, maybe leave me a comment underneath. It helps the algorithm out and to understand that you guys are enjoying the content. But without further ado, let's get into it. More than 3 hours of UAP debunking. Let's do it. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being here, checking out the show and what feels like episode 927 of this show, in which we explain and possibly debunk UFO cases, paranormal incidents, and anything else that you guys sent me over on our Discord. The link is in the description. Feel free to join our Discord. It's a lovely community there, and more people are starting to do their own debunking work over on our Discord, where clips are being shared, clips are being posted, and then people share their theories, so it's become quite a nice resource for anything UFO, paranormal, and so on related. So I've got 3 clips for you guys today, but that's actually a lie. I've got 2 clips and 1 incident. Well, there are some videos of it, but the last clip we're going to talk about is not a UFO. It's a USO, okay? So it's a what? Unknown, unexplainable, submerged object. The ones underwater. I'm sure you've seen them before. So exciting stuff, right? And we're going to get right into the first clip. But before we do that, I want to kindly ask you to smash the like button, please. Show your support. Subscribe to the channel for more, because I'd hope to see you in the comment section under videos going forward. But let's get into the first clip. Now, this one was recorded, and we know who recorded it, actually, in Hungary. And the guy has his own YouTube channel, and he shared this video on his YouTube channel. So you can see the original video in the background. The object is kind of flying here from the right-hand side down, makes this turn, and then flies off to the right. We're getting a bunch of enhanced footage afterwards, but it is an intriguing clip. And that's why I wanted to share it with you guys. And you can kind of see like a stabilized, enhanced version here. It looks like some kind of cylindrical, typical cigar-shaped object, as UFO research probably would describe it. People are breaking down the flight path here, doing everything they can to highlight what is actually going on. And obviously what is intriguing is that it looks like the object is going through the clouds, right? It looks like it's going into the clouds, behind the clouds, and then re-emerges from it. Also, check out this part of it, right? It's like a close-up of the footage. Object coming from the top and then making like not a 90-degree angle, but a quite hard turn to the right-hand side. So what's going on here, right? So, and I'm just watching this and I'm like, all right, let's see what the experts have to say. So I'm scrolling down into the comments, and it's the UFO community, right? So often the best and most entertaining aspects of these videos are happening in the replies. For example, at Mick West, flying dildo. Is it a flying dildo? Well, Mick West actually replies to this great, insightful comment and says, bird or bug, long exposure given the rod effect. And the guy who originally posted the video is just an LMAO. A bird or a bug? That's insane. Great, really big brain comment. Okay, let's read a few more, okay? I'm impressed. Oh, that turn. 2 cloud covers don't seem to match up. Also, what crap editing is this? So people are a little bit skeptical. Some people say it's a bird. I suggest that you start putting the date and place of the video in the posts. That is actually a valid point, because turns out this guy has a time and a date when this was taken. But who cares? Who cares about these kinds of facts and surrounding information around the video, as long as it blows you away and it's all cool, right? Great capture. Very much like a cruise missile. A cruise missile. Bro, I mean, look, I'm not a military person, but this is not a cruise missile, okay? Now, what's interesting is the guy who originally captured it and shared it on his YouTube channel first also was confused about what it is. But then later he shared a separate video, and the YouTuber is called Handras, and he is Hungarian, so he only talks Hungarian. But he later shared a second video in which he analyzes the rest of the footage and gives a bunch of other examples of birds and other objects looking very, very similar, flying through the sky at the time. And he later came to the conclusion, as it says in the comment here, that it was a swallow bird. Okay, it was a swallow. And he came to that conclusion simply because he recorded all this other footage of swallows flying around, having a very, very similar effect. Now, because he speaks Hungarian, I unfortunately can't understand everything he says, but people have commented who speak Hungarian and say, yeah, basically, he breaks it down in a lot of details, saying that it is a swallow bird and why it looks like this and why it was slightly reflective in the sun. And it might have been one of these moments again where just everything comes together. Obviously, the reason why it looks like an elongated cigar-shaped object is because of this rod effect, which actually has its own Wikipedia site. It's an optical phenomenon where when you use a certain type of lens and a certain type of exposure, insects and birds get stretched out into what looks like a cigar-shaped object or some kind of elongated cylindrical object. So it's a pretty common phenomenon, so that explains the shape. And that it is a bird also explains that it can make these crazy turns, like not the 90-degree one, but we saw it in the beginning. And the fact that it seemed to reflect the light and almost look metallic in this one moment might really just been that a few factors came together. That maybe at that moment the sun came through a little hole in the clouds, shined exactly on that bird, and then, obviously birds and feathers do have a little bit of reflectiveness. So in that second it had a little bit more reflectiveness than the second before and after, so it looks like a metallic object. And it seemingly disappearing into the clouds and re-emerging from it is probably an optical illusion, I would say, right? With the color of the bird having the exact right distance to the camera, maybe flipping left and right, and that's why, the light bounces off differently of the bird, and it might just literally take the color of the clouds, and that gives it the illusion of coming back. That would be my explanation. That's how I would make sense of it. And obviously this is the explanation of the gentleman who shot the footage as well. I would love to hear everything that he has to say. I'll link his original video down in the comments, right? Maybe you can help us out, and if you speak Hungarian, check out the video. Let me know your thoughts on some of the translations, because he's talking about flight paths and stuff, but obviously I can't make any sense of it. But yeah, to me, the clip is debunked, okay? But obviously this is just a theory. It's not literally debunked where it would be like, oh, here's the CGI artist who put it together and admitted to it. It's not debunked like that. I think it's a bird. The guy who shot it thinks it's a bird. You let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Next video. Now this piece of footage is a little bit older, but it is some of the most sharp and most crispest, is that a word? Footage of UFOs that we have that is available on the internet. Let's look at the clip on what we have here. So as you can see, it's just very sharp footage. It has a dome on top. It's very reflective, but it has been filmed off a screen, right? As you can see, this is not the original footage, and apparently I could not find the original film anywhere. But we're getting like some really nice close-up shots. I mean, this looks very intriguing, right? I don't know if this is like blinking lights. It almost looks like we're burning gas there or something, right? Like a blue burning gas flame or something like that. I don't know. It's intriguing footage. It's not great, again, because it's been filmed off another screen. Also interesting that we have no other angles of this, right? I don't know where it was filmed. We have no information about it. But there are a few things that I think we can conclude from this footage. First of all, this originally appeared and has only been shared exclusively on third phase of Moon, okay? And if you're familiar with this channel, then you know these people have absolutely no filter to footage being real or being easily debunked. They just put anything on their channel and pretend that it's real, okay? There's no critical thinking on this channel at all. It's just like, whoa, look at this incredible footage. And then in this particular video for 2 minutes, they talk about a very reflective and shiny dome. So that's not good. That it only appeared on this channel that is kind of a known channel, not necessarily for hoaxers, but for like people who have no credibility when it comes to authenticating the footage that they share. Also, we have to ask ourselves, why has it been filmed off a screen? Now, I think you can make 2 points about that. The first one being that if you want to leak some top secret military footage without leaving any metadata clues on the footage, the best way to copy it is just filming it off a screen, okay? Because you're not sharing the original footage, you're creating a new piece of footage, and with that, all metadata would be deleted, okay? So that is probably an argument that believers would put forward. But also, there's another great benefit to sharing footage that has been filmed off another screen, and that is that it hides a lot of detail. Let's assume this is CGI, okay? Someone rendered this in a computer, and to me, it very much looks like that. Now, if you would share the original clip, it might look fake instantly, right? It looked like garbage CGI. But if you film it off another screen, now you have that extra filter, and you can see it's a bit blurry. It hides a lot of the details. It adds intrigue to it. So to be honest, my feeling is that this is just a CGI clip. And the reason why it's been filmed off another screen is because they want to hide the detail and they want to add a little bit credibility to it. But I don't know, okay? Again, I can't give you a 100% guarantee that that's what it is. It just feels very much like a CGI clip to me. And since we've seen nothing else of this anywhere else besides on third phase of Moon, I would say it's most probably CGI. Okay, that's my feeling. But share your thoughts down in the comment section below. I'd be curious to hear them. Now, the last incident I want to talk about today is the USO. that I teased in the beginning of the video. Now, USOs, fascinating stuff, okay? I'm a fan of the idea of UFOs kind of seamlessly going underwater and having alien bases at the bottom of the sea and stuff. I think this stuff is cool. However, this guy posted, user ZJ223, posted on Reddit that he saw these strange lights at sea, okay? And he posted a bunch of photos, and here you can see it. So it's a pretty clear, bright green light that seems to sit under the surface of the ocean. And he does give quite a detailed breakdown of this incident, which we're going to read in a second. Also, he shared a few more photos as well as video footage of the incident. And to read the text, it will give you a little bit more context. It is a fascinating incident, and we're going to try to make sense of it. Let's read what this person had to say. I work on a research vessel. Recently, we had a trip studying bioluminescence in the Gulf of Mexico around 11:45, 12 to midnight. We were conducting research as normal when a science party member saw a strange light about a quarter mile off the stern. We immediately started to make our way towards the light. The intensity of the light was quite astonishing. Nobody in the crew or in the science party knew what to make of it. At first, we thought it could have been a sunken vessel or a navigation buoy of some kind that sunk. We proceeded to get as close as possible to the light, and eventually we hovered directly on top of it. Our vessel has a moon pool in the center. Okay, if you know what that is. It is basically a hole in the bottom of the ship that allows you to have like really calm water, right? So you can almost investigate the bottom of the sea. So this research vessel did have a moon pool, which the crew and the science party were able to carefully observe the light from directly on top. We used a subsurface camera to attempt and capture what the object may have been. The science party on board automatically ruled out the light being produced by bioluminescent phytoplankton. Okay, so keep that in mind, okay? Because when I saw this for the first time, I was like, yeah, this is some bioluminescence under the water, okay? Something that is brighter than other bioluminescent. Maybe, it could be some kind of aggregation of bioluminescent material on some kind of rock, maybe, that sits underwater. But, I mean, these are researchers who research bioluminescency, and apparently they automatically ruled out the light being that. Now, I would be curious to hear why. Like, what is the reason? Why did they rule this out? He doesn't go into more detail about this. That makes it questionable a little bit to me, but I mean, they're researchers researching that stuff, so there must be a reason why they ruled it out. This light source was 100% on the bottom of the ocean and not something that was floating through the water column. It did not move in the current. The water depth at this specific location was 60 feet deep. As we hovered on top of the light, we used an EK80, which is a sonar, to provide us with imaging. I think he means imaging of the ocean floor at this location. To our surprise, this object producing the light did not have a physical shape that we could detect. It was invisible to our sonar. The sonar is also capable of imaging objects that are below the sea floor, objects that could be partially submerged in the mud, for example, and objects that could be as small as 3 foot in length. Okay, so that's not very tall. Any speculation on what this object could be, considering the strength of the light having to shine through 60 foot of water and being strong enough for us to observe from a considerable distance away, blah, 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 blah. Now, my favorite comment underneath this post is this one, okay, Moistius Dangles. Who has got his cake day today? Well, congratulations. And he said, the blue light reminds me of Cherenkov radiation that happens when electrically charged particles such as protons or electrons travel faster than light in a clear medium like water. And he posts a little video showing, and I'm sure we've all seen this, right? Like, I don't know what this, like if reactors get switched on or whatever, you get like this blue illumination. That does look very similar, right? So people reply and say, wow, amazing reference, great comment. This is exactly what it looks like. So a nuclear reactor could be down there? Could it be a nuclear reactor in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico? Guys, come on, 21 upvotes, okay? Oh, God. Now, what is interesting is that the light stayed on for a significant amount of time, okay? So I think he said somewhere like around 4 hours or something. I don't know if they stayed there that long to observe that light for 4 hours, but it stayed on for a significant amount of time, which again kind of talks against bioluminescence, because that might come on, stay on for a while, but then go off again. It's and even if it's like a bunch of fish who have some kind of bioluminescent features, they would be moving, they wouldn't be staying in one spot. But there are still a bunch of theories of what it could be, okay? So for example, this is a light that a night diver lost, right? It could be seen from the surface and it looks almost identical. As the original poster said as well, it could also be a sunken beacon, right? That is just designed to have a light that doesn't stop lighting for a very long time, because that's the main purpose of it. It's a beacon. And again, those have very bright lights, okay? So they're designed to, even there's fog or something to shine through that. So a light like that at 60 feet down on the bottom of the ocean would probably be visible from the top and would last, if the water doesn't destroy it, for an extensive period of time. And then on top of all that, there's also the option of it being a geological phenomenon. Okay, again, it kind of goes against the idea of it being on for such an extended period of time. But look, I'm not a geologist, and it might absolutely be possible, if there is some tectonic activities, that there might be some glowing spots underwater that stay on for a long period of time. It is possible. Again, I think the idea that it's either a night diver's light lamp that may have gone overboard from another ship, that it's a buoy or some kind of beacon that sunk down, or some kind of geological phenomenon, is much more likely than aliens. But again, that's just my theory. That's how I would explain something like this. Guys, please let me know your thoughts on this mysterious and intriguing case down in the comment section below. I'd be curious to hear it. And that's it for today. I'm thinking in the future to maybe break this down, because these videos are so long and hardly anyone watches them to the very end. So I'm thinking in the future to break them down on a case-by-case basis, right? So basically do one case per video. You can let me know your thoughts and opinions on that as well. Would you prefer that, a video per case, or do you enjoy these slightly longer videos that break down several cases in one episode? So, looking forward to your comments. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, join our Discord. The link to that is in the description. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. And we're back. Okay, we're looking at 3 more UFO cases today that we can potentially debunk, at least explain them, trying to approach them with a level-headed mind. Okay, that's what we do around here. And I appreciate you being here with me. And I just want to say thank you before we get into the actual cases of today. Because in the last video, I expressed a little bit of uncertainty whether I should do longer videos, shorter videos. Was not so sure about the format that I'm currently using. I got so many positive comments. A lot of you guys encouraged me to do even longer videos, and saying that you really enjoy watching them, while you eat, and it gave me all kinds of scenarios of how you're watching my videos, which was great. So I just want to say thank you, and obviously I appreciate every single comment from you guys under the video, as well as likes. That always shows me and the algorithm that you're enjoying the show, and that's really all that matters. So in today's video, I have prepared 3 cases that I want to get through. 2 are UFO videos and clips, and we're going to get to those later in the video. But I want to start with something that's a little bit more mysterious. That's not a UFO clip, and that is the disappearance of pilot Frederick Valentich, who disappeared 1978 with his plane while having a UFO encounter, allegedly. And his last communication was, "Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering on top of me again." And there was 2 seconds of open microphone, and it is hovering, and it is not an aircraft. Okay, we actually have a recording of his last communication with Melbourne Tower, and we're going to listen to that in a second. It is a little bit hard to understand, but I think it's still, you can see the subtitles on the screen, but it's still interesting to listen to how he sounded and how he came across in this last communication. So let's give that a quick listen. Again, I think VHDSJ is him, so you only hear his voice, and then when it switches back to the tower, you don't actually hear the voice of the person in the tower. It just blanks for a short second. And also, I believe this communication has been shortened slightly. It's been kindly edited and cleaned up a bit by YouTube user Shadow Matter. So maybe check out his channel and see if you want to give him a follow as well. But let's get into this recording of his final communication with Melbourne Tower before he and his plane disappeared. So this is really interesting. Sorry to interrupt here, but obviously the tower in Melbourne asked, like, what kind of aircraft is it? Can you identify it? And he says, well, no, I cannot affirm what it is. It's 4 bright lights, I assume he wants to say. It seems to me like landing lights, right? Like 4 landing lights. Like, keep that in mind once we get into the debunking later on. That will become relevant again. So he wants to know if there are any other aircraft in the vicinity, and they confirm, no, there's nothing there. So he says it's a kind of a long shape, but he can't describe it or identify more than that. And that tells me that the sight was not good, right? If whatever this is that's hovering around him would be clearly visible, he would surely be able, it has this kind of surface, it's round, it's triangular, whatever it is. But all he says, it's kind of a long shape, which really doesn't say much and does indicate that his sight was not great when this happened. Sort of metallic, so he indicates some kind of reflectiveness. He talks about green lights. Listen now. So there's a bunch of indiscernible noises in the end, which obviously has the UFO and believer community going nuts, right? They're like, oh my God, okay, there's some strange noises on the radio communication. Aliens, okay, obviously. That's the only explanation what it could be. Now, this is a mysterious case, and I don't think that I can debunk it 100%. Nobody can, whatever happened to him. Fact is, he disappeared. They never found his airplane. They never found him. But if you do research into the case, there are a few red flags that may indicate what could have happened, okay? And I want to break this down to you guys, and then you can make up your own mind. And again, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think this is a case of alien abduction, or can it be explained with some of the theories that I'm going to break down? First of all, before we get into the theories itself, Frederick Valentich was a very inexperienced pilot, okay? He did not have many flight hours. He was young and actually failed a number of licensure tests and was rejected for pilot roles he applied for on several occasions due to his issues on his pilot record. So that is already something that not necessarily debunks what's going on here, but it's a red flag. You also get a lot of people mentioning in the Reddit comments that, he was on one hand a big UFO fan, so he loved the UFO lore and everything around it, and that he had mental health challenges. Now, let me be clear. Both of these pieces of information I was not able to verify. In part, obviously, when this happened in 1978, it was much less common to openly speak about mental health challenges and stuff. So it might be that, but it also might be that that's just not true, that he did not have mental health challenges. But it is something that people mention. Now, let's get into the first theory, what might have happened here. The first theory is that he staged his own disappearance. It's possible. Sometimes people do want a new identity. Who knows? Maybe he had debt or something. Maybe he just wanted to become the actor Harvey Keitel, because if we look at the picture, it's quite similar. No, but in all honesty, despite ideal radar conditions at the time, at no time was the aircraft plotted on radar in the area where he was supposed to be. And Melbourne police received reports of an aircraft, a light aircraft, in fact, this is all on the Wikipedia page of this incident, making a mysterious landing not far from Cape Otway at the same time as Valentich's disappearance. Okay, so his airplane was allegedly not be able to be plotted in the location where he claimed to be. And at the same time, other people reported a light aircraft landing at a different airport, matching the time of his disappearance, which is all kind of indicating that there may have been an element of him just trying to disappear, landing the plane somewhere else, and then starting a new life somewhere. But there's also this element of him potentially being disoriented, right? If he thinks he's flying in a certain location, but he can't be tracked on radar, so he's clearly not in that location. That might just be that he thought he's there when actually he's somewhere else, and there's some disorientation going on, which seamlessly leads me into theory number 2. And that is that an investigation into the incident concluded that the pilot was disoriented. Okay, so experts looked at everything we know about the incident and concluded that he was disoriented and that he potentially was flying upside down, and that the lights that he was seeing, for him looking like they're hovering above him, are actually the reflections of his own landing lights in the water. And when he describes that he felt like the lights are getting closer and closer, it might just him getting closer and closer to the water. And that would also explain this reflective nature that he described in the object, right? Maybe it was just the water, because that would look huge above you, right? If you're flying upside down and you're looking up and you see this massive reflective surface, what feels for you like it's right above you, that would explain quite a few of the things that he said in this final communication with Melbourne Tower. But I hear you saying, hold on a second. If I fly upside down in an aircraft, surely I would notice that, right? Because G-forces would pull me down, and it's not the same if you're flying upside down or the right way around. And to that I have to say, no, that's actually not correct. Because if you fly over water and you're a fairly inexperienced pilot, this type of disorientation can quite easily happen. You need to trust your instruments, and if you're not highly trained to just purely fly on instruments, then the water can look very similar to the sky, especially in lower visibility. As we noticed earlier, it very much sounded like there may have been lower visibility. So it's not a very uncommon phenomenon. Also, if this plane that you're in is falling faster than you are, then actually the centrifugal force would push you into the seat. I'm sure you've seen these videos online where like jet pilots pour whatever, a cup of Red Bull or something while they're doing a turn, like a 360 spin, and they're literally upside down, but the liquid still pours downwards into the cup because of the centrifugal force. So when you're in an airplane, this type of disorientation can happen, and it's not as uncommon as you may think. However, when talking about this upside down theory, there is one very important point that has to be mentioned, and that is also mentioned in the Wikipedia article. It says here that the model Cessna that the pilot was flying could not have flown inverted for long, as it has a gravity-fed fuel system, meaning that its engine would have cut out very quickly. So meaning that if he flew upside down, his engine would have cut out at some point because the fuel, which uses gravity, wouldn't be fed into the engine. Now, I don't think that necessarily is a very strong argument that pulls apart this theory, because in fact this could have been part of this incident itself. If he's flying upside down and his engine starts to stutter and starts to cut out and he's actually falling towards the water in this case, that might again explain why he felt that he is the right way around, because his plane is falling and that pushes him into his seat, and it amplifies the illusion of him actually flying the right way around. Admittedly, he did not say specifically in the communication with the tower that the engine is cutting out or anything like that, but still, I think it could actually be part of the reason of his death and disappearance if his engine loses the fuel supply and he just loses control and then crashes into the water. And if all of these things happen in a fairly short span of time, and he's not a very professional pilot that doesn't know how to communicate these circumstances with the tower, I think that kind of paints a picture of a few explanations of what might have happened here. But I mean, it could also just be an alien abduction. Okay, it might be that he's living on Alpha Centauri right now. Leave your thoughts on this case down in the comment section below. Okay, I'm curious to hear this. Do you feel the theories I just broke down kind of make sense, are likely, or do you feel it's much more likely that it was aliens? But let's move to the next story, and that is the so-called blue snake UFO, which has been spotted and recorded over Scottsdale, Arizona. Apparently, that's what it says here, and it's an interesting one, right? Let's take a look at the clip. I'm gonna comment through it because these guys are just losing their mind over it. But I want to highlight a few things to you guys as we're looking at this clip. Let's go.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You can see a plane flying by down here. And notice that the object seems to change its shape. It has like a snake-like appearance, right? Like it's elongated.
It's kind of like streaking.
It's kind of like streaking.
So weird. The camera is like...
Mine's bugged out.
Oh my god, it's aliens. The camera's bugging out, bro. Evidence. Nice one there. See how short it is now? He's zooming in.
It's like two things.
Yeah.
Now it's elongated again, right? So it seems to...
Kind of see. Yeah, I see it. It's so weird.
It changes the angle towards the camera. Also notice that the top of it is slightly brighter, it seems like. There seems to be a little bit of an aggregation of lights on the top.
What the f is that?
Versus the rest of it that seems to hang on it.
Yeah.
Wait, is there...
Also notice that it's not always consistently blue. There seems to be like little interruptions. Do you see this? Small interruptions of the light, like almost rippling through it. So some of the lights are not on permanently. Do you see this? Did you see that just now? It was very clear that some of the lights come on and some lights come off. But obviously, like it seems to be moving, changing, maybe with the wind or something. It's not constantly, it's not a static object, you know, that is like not flexible or anything like that. So it's a mysterious case, but you get a rough idea what it is, okay? It's a blue, snake-like, unidentified object that hovers and moves the shape, apparently from what it looks like to me, with the wind. And therein lies the explanation and the debunk of what this most likely is, okay? Because this one, despite them losing their mind and being like, what is it? Oh my God. And despite the guy putting all the hashtags in there that you need, right? Like UFOs are real, UFO footage, ovnis, space, extraterrestres, ufologia, okay? Bro's really trying to make it work. Let me tell you guys, it's not a UFO. I mean, it's an unexplained flying object, I guess. But let me explain to you guys what this is. And it's very similar to what we spoke about before in another video. It is most probably one of those kites. Okay, now look at this. This is basically a kite that blinks on the top. So the head of the kite has like some LEDs on it. We looked at, as I said, something similar in the past video. But then the tail of the kite that moves in the wind has single LED dots that sometimes get interrupted, that do ripple, very similar to what we just saw in that video. Here's another example that really shows you guys what I mean, and you'll see in a second when it actually gets dark. This is identical. Besides the fact that some of the LED lights here are red, in the other case they were basically blue. But that's the same thing, okay? There are no buts and ifs about it. That's what this is. What surprises me is if this has been hovering over Arizona, why there is not more footage of it. Why do we not get more clips? My theory is because it's so obvious that it's just a kite, okay? And you need to be a kind of special type of stupid to film something like this and then claim that it's aliens. But you know, if you want to believe, then anything is an alien. Even it's most probably just the tail of a kite. So I say confidently, this one. We did it again, boys. We did it. It's just another kite, okay? It's always kites or balloons, unfortunately. I mean, share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you feel like, no way, it's not a kite. That makes, you know, share your thoughts down in the comments. Personally, I think that's what it is. Let's move on to the last clip that we're going to look at today. And that has been kindly shared by Arthur on our Discord. And I just want to say thanks to this guy because he's been sharing continuously fairly good UFO clips and mysterious videos on our Discord. And by the way, you can do the same. If you have clips that you would like me to look at that are presentable for a video like this, then please join our Discord through the link in the description. It's obviously completely free. It's a lovely community over there, and people are hanging out, even debunking their own clips at this point without me contributing at all. But this is a clip that Arthur sent to me today, actually shared it publicly on the Discord, and I wanted to share it with you guys. It is not very long, it's just 18 seconds, so we'll look at it, we can listen to what the lady who's recording it has to say, and then we'll analyze. Let's take a look.
It's a UFO over there. The Nellis Air Force Base is following it. It's right there.
The Nellis Air Force Base is following it. What, the whole base? Like a flying Air Force base following the object? Now you have to look, it's kind of in the center here. It's a little bit hard to see. A lot of people were saying it's probably behind the clouds. It must be humongous. Here you can see, I don't know, like some kind of military fighter flying past it. For all I can see, I don't see them turning around or following the object. But keep your eyes peeled on this spot here, and you'll see what she's referring to.
There, this is following it. It's right there. You see it?
Do you see it?
They following.
First of all, why is the video just cutting out? Where's the rest of the video? That's what people in the comments said as well. Like, where's the freaking rest? It's 18 seconds. Can we please get more of this video? Also, she says, she states down here in the description, also I saw multiple jets flying towards it. Well, that's not what I saw, okay? The jet that I see here at best flies past it. It does not seem to fly towards it at all or do any effort of like moving towards this, what this alleged object is. But I do appreciate that she's following the UAP video regulations, which say that no video can ever be longer than 25 seconds. Okay, it's got to stay under the 25 seconds. But I mean, keep in mind, this was filmed in April 15th, so just a few days ago actually, in 2024, near Las Vegas. And in Las Vegas, we know we have loads of Air Force bases. We have Groom Lake, we have the Nellis Air Force Base, we have Harry Reid International Airport. There's a lot of air traffic going on around Las Vegas. And I mean, it just has to be said that most people are horrible observers. Unless you're a pilot and you're trained in observing things and reading what's in the sky, then most of the time you will be wrong. And if you see something you can't explain, most of the time there is an explanation. You just don't know what it is because you're not trained to read things in the sky. And since she says
Nellis Air Force Base is following it.
the Nellis Air Force Base is following it, it sounds to me like she's probably not a crazy trained professional when it comes to aerial phenomenon. Now, to me, it looks like an eye floater. Do you know what I mean? Like you get an eye floater and you're like, oh, wait a second, I just rubbed my eye. So it has a little bit of that connotation. A lot of people say it's a smudge on the camera, but I don't think that's what it is, right? Because you can see here, especially in the end, she's swerving the camera to the right-hand side and the object moves to the left-hand side. Also, you seem to be able to observe that the shape of the object is actually changing slightly, right? Do you see this? It's not like a steady shape. You see now at this point it gets a bit elongated. It's not very clear to see because she clearly recorded this with a potato, but she's trying her best. I also want to exclude that it's CGI. I don't think it's CGI because if you would try to fake a CGI UFO case, you wouldn't make it as subtle as this, right? You would probably do something that's a bit more in your face, that looks more like a UFO, even it's just like a black shadow that's similar to that jet flying by. So I don't think it's a smudge on the window. And I mean, again, leave your comment underneath if you think it's a smudge, that's fair. I don't think it's CGI, so what could it be? What could it be? And a few people made some good comments, and I think that very much aligns with what I think this is. It's murmuration, okay? It's a flock of birds. It's not an object that is flying inside the clouds or anything. The reason why it does look semi-translucent is because it's a flock of birds. That's how birds look when they are far away. And that's also why it slightly changes its shape and you can see it flying across the sky almost as a unit. And the fact that she loses her mind over it and the whole UFO subreddit on Reddit also loses their mind over it is once again just a testimony to the lack of critical thinking in this community, because that's most likely what it is. There should just be one comment on top that says it's murmuration, it's birds, guys, and then everyone should agree and we're moving on. But the truth is people are like, oh my god, it could be this, it could be that, and they're speculating wild. I mean, I'm curious to hear your thoughts again, but it could also be a plane's shadow, theoretically, if it's a plane that flies above the clouds, casts a shadow onto the clouds. Not impossible, but that would make it a very, very big plane. I think it's less likely. I also like that it's got Nope vibes, right? Like the Jordan Peele movie. It's got a little bit of the vibes of that thing flying through the sky there as well. So it's a nice, mysterious clip. It's fun to look at. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the subtleness of it. And you got to give it that lady that she spotted that. You know, she got a sharp eye. But despite her spotting it, she wasn't able to identify what it is. And, you know, at the same time, maybe there's also a sensationalist aspect to it where she basically knows it's a flock of birds. But, you know, it looked kind of mysterious on the camera, and she's just trying to grow her Instagram or whatever social platform she's trying to grow. So I guess we won't know, but that's what it is. It's a flock of birds, okay? And again, I think I can confidently say we debunked this one. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of those clips. Again, share your clips with me over on the Discord. You can give me other suggestions down in the comments as well. I'm always happy to look at your guys' suggestions, because one argument that a lot of people always make is like, well, you're just picking the easy cases you can debunk. It's like, no, dude, if you actually go back and look at some of the other videos, there were videos I couldn't explain. I could put theories forward, kind of similar to the first case we spoke about today, but I can't really debunk them. But then the last two we looked at today, Flock of Birds and the Kite, I think confidently we can say that those are debunked, at least in my opinion. But I appreciate you hanging out. I appreciate you spending your time on these videos, enjoying them together with me and looking at these cases. Again, if you made it to this point in the video, don't forget to smash the like button. I really appreciate it, because as you know, we YouTubers, we feed off likes. Okay, we need them. Also, don't forget to subscribe, because I'd hope to see you in further videos in the future. So thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks for enjoying these clips with me, and I see you next time. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. So it is that time of the week. I appreciate you guys hanging out and enduring me doing slightly different content recently on the channel. There was some stuff that I wanted to cover, but here we are. We're back. We're trying to debunk and explain a few more UFO clips. I've hand-selected 3 for you guys today that you guys shared with me on our Discord. The link to that is in the description. It's free to join, obviously, so you can join the community there. But as I said, I have 3 exciting UFO clips for you today. Some classics, okay, some videos that we had seen in a while but have been reposted and making the circles on socials recently, but also some slightly newer stuff, okay? And we're gonna try to make sense of it. But without further ado, let's get into the clips. But before we do, please don't forget to smash the like button, okay? It really helps the algorithm if you enjoy the show. Please show it by smashing the like button. Now, the first clip I want to share with you guys has been recorded in my hometown, in London, okay, where I'm currently living. And it's a little bit of a classic. I remember seeing it a few years back, and allegedly it was recorded in 2011, at least that was the year when it was shared, but it was posted 4 days ago by user Bertie's Ghost on Reddit, and we're going to look at it. But before we do, I quickly want to give you a little bit of the background of what he says up here, because he basically says that allegedly there is another video of this object captured, which I would expect because he titles it mass sighting. Okay, it's a mass sighting, guys. So that means hundreds, if not thousands of people witnessed this incredible sighting, but there's only one other video that exists of this alleged object, and that was shot over, and he says London Bridge. That's not what it was. He's got that wrong. It was actually Tower Bridge. Okay, loads of bridges in London. It's this one. And I found the video. To be honest, it's bad quality. I can't even see anything that would classify as a UFO in this video. Also, this was shared 9 years ago, while the original video we're going to look at in a second was shared 12 years ago. So there are a few discrepancies here of him saying it's a mass sighting and that there's another video of that same object. He also says that he posted this video in the main UFO sub last year, subreddit, and it was unfairly declared CGI and fake by the mods because of the data compression artifacts, okay? Obviously it's real. It's the data compression artifacts that make it look fake, all right? Let's take a look. Let's check out the video first and then we discuss. And I apologize for the audio quality. It is despicable. Turn it down ever so slightly. So you notice he's running up to this street corner. This corner, by the way, is Bolsover Street and Clipstone Street. That's the corner right there. The building we're looking at right in front of us, I believe, is the BBC Radio 1 building at the time. I'm not sure they are still based there. But you can see he's pointing the camera at the sky, and there are a bunch of lights, orbs, I guess, zipping across the sky. And there's also a bunch of other people, and I guess that's what makes it a mass sighting. There's a bunch of other people standing on the corner, pointing their phones at the sky. And again, this was filmed in 2011. Keep in mind, 2011 was iPhone 4 and iPhone 4S generation. So that was a little bit of a red flag for me immediately when I saw this footage, because the quality is fairly decent. I did look at some reference footage of like just film recorded with the iPhone 4S. It doesn't look completely awful, not as awful as I remember it. And did you see this? It zipped behind the clouds. Oh my god, UFO confirmed. But even the quality is very badly stabilized. It made me a little bit suspicious. Also, let me go back there just for a second and listen exactly to what's being said. Okay, listen to the background. I hope you can hear it. I apologize. Again, the audio quality is awful. UFO. Where? Did you see it? I don't know if this was a kid that passed by. It sounded like a very high-pitched voice. It could have been a female voice or a kid's voice. And they're like, there's a UFO. And the kid's like, where? Where is it? I don't see anything. But there it is. It re-emerges from behind the clouds. And it almost looks like this kind of lens effect, right? If you're filming something with your phone and a very bright light sits at the exact wrong spot, it can reflect within the internal lenses and create that little effect. But it's not that, I'm pretty sure, because he's zooming into it and you wouldn't have this effect zooming into an object like that. But there's a bit more to it. It's also funny because he keeps filming down, right? And people are staring up, but it's never more than, in this case, 4 or 5 people looking up at the sky on this street corner. And here's one more shot. He looks up and look, there are a bunch of lights that suddenly emerge. The sun, yeah, and they're discussing, you know, what they are seeing, or at least they're putting an effort in trying to discuss what they're seeing, and that is basically it, okay? This is the end of the footage. Also notice it's like 2:20 long, so for something that might be CGI comped in 2011, that's a long video, okay? Because it took a lot of calculating power and time to track items or to track objects at the time onto existing footage. It's not something that you do very quickly on a home computer. So it raised all kinds of questions. It was also covered in the Daily Mail. At the time, people were speculating, are aliens getting less camera shy? UFOs filmed above the BBC building in London. So at the time, this footage really made the circles. However, I think we can easily debunk it. Beyond the points already listed, them being that it's described as a mass sighting and there are 4 other people standing there filming at the sky, but there's no other footage. There's no other corroborating footage that shows the exact same thing, just recorded with a slightly different phone from a slightly different angle. It doesn't exist. But also I found this beautiful breakdown, which shows just 16 seconds of the same footage. And we just watched exactly that. It's towards the end of the video. Now check it out. Here you can see one of the lights not perfectly disappearing at the edge of this building, almost as if they are comped into it, right? Now you might say, but how could this been done at the time? I mean, again, it's a 2-minute 20 video. It takes a long time to calculate, at least on a home computer. Well, there's an answer for that as well, because the account that shared this original video, which is called AliMech, however you pronounce that name, shared another video at the time, and that is this one, okay, and got significantly less views. The other one really exploded. This one is only, quotation mark, 305,000 views, and you can see it's the same street corner, right? You can see it, the one, they were basically standing down here on the right hand side. This is what I believe was the BBC building at the time, and they're filming the sky above it, and check it out as soon as the camera focuses. Conveniently, the UFOs appear. So there they are. Okay, it looks very, very similar. Again, shared by the same account around the same time. And here's the problem with this. The place that it was filmed from, this office, what looks like an office that he's walking through in the beginning, is at that time the office of The Mill. Okay, and The Mill is a company which creates visual effects for the film industry. Okay, so we got the wrong clipping of it, kind of going into a building where they didn't do a proper job. We got people, this is my assumption, right? I think they just probably had a good time. The guys that are standing in the other video on the side of the street are actually probably, presumably his colleagues, I have to assume, right? It's a bunch of guys who all work for The Mill, and they're like, that will give it authenticity if we all stand there and everyone points their phone at the sky. Nice thought, and I mean, it does give it authenticity, because if you read the subreddit, you read the comments underneath, it is wild. People are totally buying this stuff. Wow, I've never seen this. That's crazy footage. Finally, a video that shows something immediately speeding away. Yeah, wow. I watched it a few times in detail, and it could be authentic, guys, okay? I actually witnessed a UFO in London, very similar to the footage, the day after this happened. Guys, okay, I basically saw the same thing. That's some of the best footage I've ever seen. So dope. It's so dope, bro. Because people often say, like, I just pick and choose this footage that's, like, easy debunkable. But, dude, look at it. Like, people are believing this stuff. A lot of people are falling for it and taking it at face value. But I think considering that the same account shared another video that was seemingly inside the offices of The Mill's special effect house, which would explain why they had the resources to render something like that in 2011. The fact that we got, like, one of the UFOs kind of glitching into one of the buildings where they didn't do a proper job, and the fact that there is no other corroborating footage that I could find, at least, from all these other people standing there on the side of the pavement recording it, confidently makes me say, it's debunked. It is debunked. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So this is a very recent piece of footage, okay? Luckily, the guy shared this original file uncompressed on his Google Drive, and I think the date that he recorded it is in the title. So it is the 3rd of March 2024, so fairly recent. Let's take a look at this footage. And yeah, that's not the UFO. Okay, that's just a guy on a paraglider or some kind of parachute. But there it is. Do you see this? Little white object, and I guess I wouldn't share this, right? If it's just like a little white object, but it's got this strange flickering effect around it, right? Some people commented on this on Reddit as well and on Twitter, saying it almost looks like an atom. It looks like neutrons or whatever is circling around atoms. Don't ask me that, okay? Kind of zipping around this object, right? Like it's surrounded by a bubble of small fizzing objects, or for lack of a better word. And that's intriguing, right? This is like mysterious footage. And then in the end, you may have noticed this, there are like other items flying by. And of course, the subreddit is freaking out. They're like, oh my god, did you see all the other UFOs in the end? It's like birds, dude. Birds and insects, okay? Obviously, this is heavily zoomed in and potentially stabilized into a very small object, but it's intriguing nonetheless, right? Like, what is this? Why does it flicker around like that? Now, here's what's interesting, though. OP, the guy who posted this originally on Reddit, posted a comment underneath that said, I just confirmed with the Skydiver that was in the air that seen it, and they seen the object and described the orbits as some kind of strings. So it's definitely really happening. It's not an artifact, guys. It's not an artifact. And of course, that's all the proof you need, right? If you're in the UFO subreddit, someone makes a claim. I spoke to that skydiver. He said it was incredible, actually, millions of colors or strings or something. Everyone's like, yeah, that's right, amazing. And I have to admit, I was puzzled by this as well at first, because I had never seen this before, this kind of artifact, and then him claiming that the guy who was like skydiving underneath it actually saw it. I mean, it looks like it's rather far away, but him being slightly closer, seeing details that we probably can't see from the ground with the naked eye and describing that's crazy. Again, there is no corroborating video that would actually have an interview with the skydiver or a statement where he posted himself and says, I was the skydiver, I saw this. So it's kind of a trust me bro situation. And if you look deeper into it, I guess we're not surprised. There is an easy explanation for what's going on here. Luckily, another person on Reddit went through the effort of posting a video that he shot of an airplane with his Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus. And he says, unfortunately, I have to disprove something today. Unfortunately, oh no, the UFO subreddit is gonna hate me for this. I'm actually showing a piece of footage that disproves another clip. Oh no, but we all want to believe. Let's take a look at it. So here he is, filming an airplane. And look at this effect around the airplane. And that is the rubbish stabilization within the Galaxy S22 that creates this effect. And it is literally the exact same effect. Now he deactivated the stabilization. You can see the effect is gone. He's filming the exact same object without the stabilization, and you don't get the flickering, orbiting objects that are around it. But if you look at it, it is more than obvious that that's exactly what it is, and we're getting these artifacts. And the fact that he says, well, the skydiver, I spoke to him, and he saw it, it looks like strings, I have to assume it's just BS, bro. He just made it up, okay? He just wanted to add some more credibility and potentially more clicks and karma that he's farming on Reddit to his post. I don't know what his intentions are, but I have to assume it's absolute nonsense, because clearly the effect that we see in the original video is caused by this particular image stabilization using a mobile phone camera. So again, second video in a row. We're on a roll today. Debunked. It's debunked. It's debunked. This is the first time I'm making literal monkey noises in a video. Well, I guess there's a first for everything. Let's move on to the last one. And this is an intriguing one. It was recorded over Los Angeles a few years ago. It's footage of a spherical UFO, and we get those a lot. So once we looked at the footage, I want to dive a little bit deeper into spherical UFOs in general, because there's some stuff you may have not seen that may explain some of these spherical UFOs that we see floating around. But let's look at this footage. Let's see what they have to say.
Here we have this weird circle in the middle of nowhere.
Circle.
Up in the sky.
There's a circle in the sky.
We don't know what it could be. Looks like
a sideway UFO.
it looks like a big balloon, but we don't.
It's a sideway UFO.
We don't see anything.
So his son or whoever that is just jumping straight to conclusions. He said himself, it kind of looks like a balloon. I think it's white. I don't think it's silver.
Anything holding it.
Doesn't look like there's anything holding
it. Big sphere in the sky.
So yeah, he zooms in a few more times. It is a fairly long video. It's 8 minutes, so obviously we don't need to watch the whole thing. Zooms in and out. And especially when he zooms in, right, you seem to see that there's like a lot of white or like light color on it, and then there's a little bit of a dark spot on that sphere. Unfortunately, his camera is really not good, so we can't make out any detail. There's also a helicopter circling it, right? And obviously all UFO nuts are like, Jesus Christ, that's all the evidence I need. There's a helicopter, military, they want to know what it is, aliens. That's it, full stop. Aliens confirmed, helicopter circling around it. Well, not so fast, bucko. And as the video goes on, you can actually see that the dark spot actually turns from the left side. You remember in the shot we looked earlier, it was kind of on the left side. Now the dark spot is on the right side. And again, it might be that there are two dark spots on the sphere and it's just spinning around slightly so that we can see sometimes the dark spot on the left or then on the right hand side. But I have to disappoint you guys again. It is perfectly explainable, okay? Because that also made the rounds at the time, and people were speculating, and it went that far that we even got a official confirmation what the object is from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department AARO Bureau. I didn't know that exists, but he confirms that the object was a brass knuckles ad balloon. It was broken loose from Covina, the West Covina area, and basically floating across the sky. And you can see what the dark spot was. It was basically the big brass knuckles logo, the icon on the side of it. And obviously the tether that attached it to the ground broke loose for some reason. And here it is floating across the sky, confusing people, making them believe that it is a UFO. But I mean, beyond this, we often get this footage of spheres floating across the sky, being misread as UFOs. And more often than not, they are just balloons. Okay, we remember the one in the airplane where the guy was flying and like this silver sphere came towards him. I'm pretty sure those are just like silvery foiled weather balloons that sometimes fly at the height that they're not supposed to be. So we see them and they confuse people. But there's more to this, because a university in Singapore is working on these free floating silvery spherical drones that can fly around. And we even get a little bit of moving footage of these drones flying around. This is at 10 times speed. Obviously, this feels very much like a prototype. They're testing it in the studio right now. However, if the students are having stuff like that looks like it and operates like it does as we see it here, it's fair to assume that the military may have similar things as well, maybe looking at similar drone technology. And I just wanted to put this out there, not specifically about this brass knuckles balloon that we just looked at, but this kind of stuff exists, okay? And this is a bunch of students. It's probably based on some kind of balloon with helium inside and then maybe with some fans that propel it through the space. I don't know how it works, okay? I'm making it up as I go along. But you can see this stuff exists. And whenever you see a UFO video that is basically a silvery sphere flying across the sky, remember these kinds of things, okay? They exist. And it's much more likely that something like that maybe some university is working on or the military is testing rather than aliens. So guys, that's it for today. 3 clips debunked. Okay, I feel I'm on a streak here. We were able to explain at least all the 3 clips. But guys, this is all just my take on it. I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think this didn't debunk it at all. Please leave your thoughts. Anything you want to say to any of these clips or about the video down in the comment section below. I would love to read your comment and I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you did, smash the like button. Maybe subscribe to the channel. I'm going to produce more of this amongst some of the other videos I do every now and then, but like just ignore those, okay? We're doing more content. There will be more debunking content coming your way, and I'm actually now considering, and you can leave your thoughts on that down in the comment section as well, on debunking some ghost videos as well, right? Take some of these ghost clips that are circulating and kind of share my takes on those. Leave your thoughts on that down in the comments as well. I appreciate your time. That's it. We went way too long. I see you in the next one. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. Boy, oh boy, do I have a treat for you guys today. In today's video, we're going to only focus on one specific incident because there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of confusion going on about the origins of this clip, what it relates to, where it comes to, and so on. But it's a real fascinating clip. Like, it blew my mind. When I saw it, I had to do a lot of research and dig into it to really understand what it is, where it comes from. But trust me, by the end of this video, I'm going to debunk it. And I'm going to reliably debunk it. And you're going to know where that specific clip comes from and what it is. Now, the case that I want to talk about that allegedly links to this clip is the case of Shaoshan Airport, because in 2010, an unidentified object was spotted over the airport and it shut down the operation of that airport. Flights had to be delayed. It was witnessed by civilian people, by passengers, by aircraft personnel, by people who work at the airport. So it's a huge case, and you can hardly say nothing happened there, right? Because, I mean, the airport was shut down. Now, in all fairness, it has to be said that airports around the world are known for slightly overreacting to potentially non-existing security threats, okay? If there's any indication of anything that is not identifiable over an airport, they're shutting the operation down because we're not taking any risks here, okay? So that the airport was shut down in itself is not really evidence for anything. But let's look at the clip in question first that is always linked to this airport shutdown. And this is the sharpest version I could find. Now check this out. Here we see this elongated stripe. It has no sound. The video has no sound, okay? But it's like an elongated cigar-shaped stripe of light that sits in the sky. It has these iconic lights sitting right above it. And then there are 2 other bigger lights and a small one. And the fascinating part, because this clip really has it all, right? You can see the small light like zipping around irrationally, accelerating, decelerating, seemingly circling, orbiting around one of the other lights. I mean, just look at it now, right? Like, I think there's a scene now where it kind of really shoots over to the other, there it is, right? To the cigar-shaped light. So it zips back and forth. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, so assuming, that's what people claim, that this is the original footage that someone recorded of this object that shut down this airport. That's fascinating stuff, right? So many people have seen it. Surely that's very compelling evidence that can't be debunked. Also love how that stripe of light just shoots down these clearly controlled beams of light down towards the Earth. Now, this is a fairly long clip. It's 1.5 minutes altogether. I'll link this down in the description so you can go check it out yourself in full length if you like to. This clip, because it's so powerful and allegedly it has been linked to the airport in China shutting down, people are putting it into videos like this one. Now, let's take a look.
There
was an unknown object seen in the skies over the airport, so according to our regulations, we had to close the airspace. Aircraft movements were suspended from 8:45 p.m. to 9:41 p.m.
Airport staff say the first reports of the UFO came in just after 8 p.m. from both air traffic controllers and civilians.
So this video makes it look like all these images that we see in the beginning, right? Like all these stills are actually part of this incident, right? Because it looks very similar than what we just looked at. However, that is not correct. Whoever put this video together, and I don't think it's like an official ABC video or anything like that, just someone put it together. These are completely separate images from separate incidences. And then afterwards, he actually switches to the footage we just looked at and presents that footage as part of the bigger picture, right? All of this is part of the Shaoshan airport incident. This is terrible quality, by the way. But then by the end of this clip, he edits in another piece of footage, again, making it look like this is all part of this one big incident at this airport that shut it down. And look at all the different camera angles we're getting. But this is unrelated footage as well. This is a different piece of footage and was not recorded in the same space. And let me just say, like the way it zips off into the sky, dude, it triggers all my CGI triggers. You know, like this is clearly CGI. It's not real. So I, to be honest, the footage in the end that we see here, I don't even need to debunk this because it's just complete garbage. It's clearly CGI. Someone made this. But this footage is more interesting. And that's why this footage has really made the rounds and even spawned some ABC articles, right? Here's an article that reads, UFO in China sky prompts investigation. An unidentified flying object forced the airport to cease operation on July 7th. Fueling speculation further, Guangzhou residents released photos taken in the afternoon before this incident happened of a hovering object bathed in golden light and exhibiting a comet-like tail. Less than an hour before the airport shutdown, residents said they also saw a flying object emitting red and white rays of light. However, the photos taken by Guangzhou residents may be unrelated to the UFO that shut down the airport. According to Guangzhou meteorological authorities, residents in the afternoon probably saw a light reflection of a plane. Beijing's planetarium curator Zhu Xing told Xinhao, which is a news agency I believe, that the object looks like a plane shining its strobe lamps. Okay, even in this article they're putting doubt on the fact that these residents took pictures of alleged unidentified flying objects on the same day and clarifying that they're most likely they've been airplanes, okay, at least the photos they took. But this footage really was picked up across the board by everyone and everyone just ran with it. Here's the footage of the airport shutting down UFO, okay, so here's another example of a Chinese news report that ran and they showing the same footage saying, you know, the airport was shut down and here's what caused it, and then they interview even people, so everyone really links this specific footage with the airport in China, in Guangzhou, shutting down. And then there are other reports like this one where they title, wow, possible UFO seen near Wuhan, China. Okay, like Wuhan is geographically not even close to Guangzhou. Those two places are like really far apart. For some reason, they mirrored the footage for this particular incident, but maybe it's like, yeah, bro, if we mirror the footage, it's suddenly a new incident. I don't know what the logic behind it is. However, there's a really, really interesting point to this specific footage, because if you look at how this UFO looks, okay, it's a long stripe with the lights above it. And we spoke about this on this channel before. This is exactly how helicopters with a searchlight underneath look when they are photographed at night with a long exposure. Here's a photo of a helicopter with a searchlight photographed at night with long exposure. The searchlight stretches out into this long cigar-shaped stretch of light and extends the beam of light that comes down and turns it into something that looks exactly like what we see in this footage. Here's another example, right? Again, this is a confirmed helicopter. The reason why you have the stripe with the light sitting above it is because that's the tail light of the helicopter. And obviously the searchlight is underneath, the tail light is slightly higher, so they fly parallel to each other, and hence you're getting a red or light stripe above with the blinking light above and the constantly on searchlight underneath. Here's another example. It looks slightly different because the helicopter flew up and down a little bit, so it kind of bends the curve slightly, but it's basically the same thing. And again, confirmed photo of a helicopter at night. And even some of the photos we saw in the video, very famous one here from Lille, France, again, confirmed helicopter with a searchlight underneath. That's just how they look. And if you go to Google and you search for like long exposure helicopter at night, you find so many of these pictures, right? Which are literally confirmed helicopters looking exactly like the footage we've just seen. However, this footage is not a still image, because obviously if you have like long exposure, that only works for single photographs, right? You leave the lens open for a while and that stretches out the light. But if you're filming a helicopter, surely it would not look like this footage, right? Because again, the only reason why it looks like a cigar-shaped object or whatever is because the lens have been open. And this seems like a long exposure shot of a helicopter at night brought to life. Do you know what I mean? Brought into an actual moving image. So how could you possibly explain that? Surely the helicopter long exposure explanation falls flat. That wouldn't work, admittedly, right? So I've done my research on this. And what's really funny is, because when you look under these Reddit threads, right, and you read some of the comments, everyone is 100% on board with it. Everyone is like, yeah, that explained, like that's definitely what it is, aliens. And even under this Wuhan, China video, people are like, well, this is the UFO that shut down an airport in China. People are breaking this incident down, right? This specific clip, they're breaking it down like in endless analysis and trying to make sense of it. And it's like, here we're talking about Guangzhou and International Airport and this and that. It could have been this. Well, let me tell you guys what it is. Because the one thing that is mentioned nowhere under these threads, amongst these hundreds and hundreds of comments of saying, well, best footage I've ever seen, that's unexplainable, that's crazy, what could it possibly be, is that this footage was published on Vimeo by an account called Meat Department. Okay? And Meat Department are three, as far as I'm aware, Paris-based designers and creatives who often do hyper-realistic CGI videos. So for example, for Mr. Oizo, they did videos for that guy. So they published this video and I was like, okay, you know, there could be still doubts about that. But if you go to their account, right, and you look at all their work, you will find that not only did they release this video, which is called UFO in China, they also released the legendary Haiti UFO video, and the older generation amongst you guys will remember was this video that floated around 9 years ago. I think it was a bit more than 9 years ago. I think, what was it, 2007? Oh, it says it here. So in the description it says, this UFO Haiti was a social experiment posted on YouTube in 2007 under the username blah, blah, blah. After accumulating millions of views on YouTube, UFO Haiti made the headlines on CNN, Fox News, LA Times. So if you're saying, well, why would they fake footage like that and put it out there? It's a social experiment, dude. It sucks off views, obviously, and it's just funny. It's funny stuff, how gullible people are, and they believe it without questioning it. And here we are in freaking 2024. People are still believing it. You read these threads, not a single person is like, yeah, bro, that's like Meat Department. They put that together. It's CGI. And by the way, if you haven't seen this Haiti UFO video, that was debunked at the time. And I can really quickly break this down to you guys, because if you look at these two palm trees, left one and right one, they're identical. Do you see this? The way the palm leaves come off. They basically just forgot to spin their assets around. If they would have spun these palm trees around for their rendering, then it wouldn't have been as obvious. But there's a few more things. If you type in UFO Haiti debunked, you'll find videos. It was already debunked when it came out in 2007. But it's surely like an impressive piece of CGI, especially for the time it was made in. And so is this footage. Now, I don't know how they did it. There were some people that I saw in CGI forums speculating whether it's actually just a static photo, right? So it's a static photo of a long exposure helicopter sitting in the air. Then they added that little light that moves and the light beams that come from the object. And then they added the camera shake and the blurriness when you zoom in and out. So basically, we're just looking at a static photo. It's a static image that they use as a backdrop. They augment it with a bunch of stuff, and the camera movement kind of does the rest. But I don't know. It might as well be that the whole scene is CGI, that the whole thing was created in a computer. I don't know how they did it, but it's obvious that they created this piece of footage. Now, It still doesn't explain why the airport was shut down. Obviously, that's the case. It was shut down. And as we read earlier in this ABC article, some people were speculating that it was just a commercial airplane that was reflecting the light. Oddly, other people said that it may have been a rocket or a missile that was carrying something into space. And you know how missiles, sometimes you see it with SpaceX a lot, they leave this very impressive trail. So I don't know what that object was, because there is no footage. There is no official confirmed footage of what that object was that shut down Xiaoshan Airport. But what we do know is that the footage we debunked in this video is unrelated. Okay, it is not part of that specific sighting and incident. Then also, I guess it has to be mentioned that the Chinese government and their media are not exactly known to give prompt and accurate reporting. So there's also the possibility that maybe it did shut down, but the media amplified the story to generate more clicks or whatever it is. It's just an unreliable piece of information at this point, why that airport was shut down and what happened there. That I can't debunk. But that's just my take, okay? I mean, that meat department created this piece of footage, I think is undeniable. It's clear at this point, but maybe you have your own theory about Xiaoshan Airport in China. Maybe you want to tell me how horrible my pronunciation of Chinese words is. That you can leave all that down in the comments, okay? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown and debunk of this one specific incident. I didn't want to mix it in with other incidents because I feel like it's been really circulating on the internet in the past weeks and months for some reason, since it's like 2010 footage, but it's really been coming back to the surface, and not a single person that I've seen has linked it to Meat Department and their animation, and that's clearly where it should be linked to. So if you see it anywhere, please just comment under that video and say, dude, that's from Meat Department, okay? 3 friends in Paris making animations and CGI, okay? That's all it is. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. Subscribe for more. Hit up our Discord, okay? The link to that is down in the description. I'm hanging out there. Loads of other nice people hang out there. It's a lovely community. Not just for UFO debunking stuff. We talk about all kinds of stuff there. So, but join the Discord, smash like, hit subscribe, do the things. And I hope to see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye. So you guys have been busy. You've been sending me all kinds of UFO videos on our Discord, okay? Link to that is in the description. You can join it. Send me your UFO videos that you think are undebunkable, okay? Because still I get these comments of people saying, bro, you just choose these videos that are easy to debunk. So, you know, every single video that I show here, people have sent to me exclaiming that this one can't be debunked, okay? So let's get into the first clip of today. That one was recorded in Melbourne, Australia in March 2022. And it shows, it's 2 films. This guy managed to get 2 shots in 2 separate clips of this incident. And it shows a bunch of what looks like silver discs flying through the sky. Let's take a look at the first clip. It's right here, and he's zooming in, right? You see them there in the distance. And he's zooming in even further. And you can see they do look like silver discs, right? 4 of them. It looks like it's 4 of them. As I said, there's a second clip.
What in the f*** is that?
Oh, he's swearing. Oh no. Gotta have to edit that out. But you can see again, it is these 4 little... 4 silver discs that seem to fly in a formation or something, because that formation looks very similar to the previous one. There's also some stabilized footage, which Mick West, by the way, nicely put together for us, so I appreciate that. And you can see, look at that. They look like silver discs, right? They move like planes, and they do fly in a formation like planes, but they certainly look like silver discs. And the driver himself, as he was filming it, you could hear his reaction. He was like, what the F is that, right? You not necessarily would have a reaction like that if you would just see a bunch of airplanes. So the witness testimony in this case, his report, concluded that they flew absolutely silent, right? He said, I didn't hear any noise they made. They were disc-shaped. They were shape-shifting. Okay, that's what he said. So they had changed their shape, which might have been an illusion, because if a formation flies past you, the way the aircraft or ships or whatever it is align might look like the shape is changing, when actually it's just different ships behind each other. And last but not least, the witness said that they vanished into thin air, okay? So here you have a person, that's the film, and he says, you know, silent, disc-shaped, shape-shifted, and vanished into thin air. Wow, that's incredibly convincing. What could it possibly be? Well, it turns out that only 2 hours after this video surfaced, it was already debunked to be the RAAF aerobatics team called the Roulettes, okay? And they're flying in formation. They were able to track down the location of where they're flying through the time of the video, and it was a perfect match, right? So it was very, very clear that what he filmed were these 4 planes in a formation. And you can kind of see it if you look at something like this. The color with the slight red tint is it's kind of a match considering the weather environment. And if they would be flying in an angle in front of you, then you wouldn't see the wings, right? Because the wings are exactly facing your direction, and it might look, with the blur of the camera mixed in as well, like a disc. So the guy who put this thread together on Twitter, Charlie Weiser, great thread by the way, I really appreciate this. He concludes as well that there is no doubt, there is zero doubt, that those were those roulettes, that Air Force aerobatics team. But that's what makes it interesting, right? Because if you just look at the witness report, the way the guy describes it, right? And he would probably say things like, no, I know what I saw. I know what I saw, okay? Those were discs. They vanished into thin air. And if he wouldn't have recorded it and the people wouldn't have done the research of matching that incident with the flying routine of these roulettes, then it would just be another unexplained case. Oh my God, what is it? And it would spawn all kinds of stories that people tell each other. So the lesson to learn here is, when you think, I know what I saw, maybe you didn't. Just understand that we're all not very good observers, okay, when it comes to aerial phenomenon. And I'm sure, as I said, this guy would have been 100% confident that what he saw was a silver disc and it was really weird. So, silver disc UFO case debunked. Moving on. Now, next I want to talk about a classic, okay? And you may have seen this. This is a very old but very impactful piece of footage that's been floating around and often used as an example of something that's not debunked when talking about UFOs, and that is the so-called Oliver's Castle crop circle footage from 1996, okay? And we're going to take a look at this footage, which I think is the footage that most of you will have probably seen, right? It shows these white orbs flying over a crop field, a field of crops in the UK, close to Oliver's Castle. Don't ask me where that is. But creating, seemingly by flying over the field, creating the crop circle, right? Because obviously crop circles, big mystery, often very complex and intriguing shapes, insane designs that people somehow managed to map onto these crop fields. Or was it people, right? Was it aliens? Is this the footage that shows us how crop circles are made? Now, the footage was shot by a man called John Wabe, aka John Whaley. It's like it goes around what name exactly he was using. And so it spawned like questions. I mean, obviously it's insane footage, right? And people wanted to find out, like, what's his name, what's behind. So they hired a private investigator to see what's going on with him and what his intentions may be. And they found out that actually he was an employee of the Bristol Animation Studio. Now, the story of this video began in August 1996 when the UK was in the grip of a crop circle frenzy. A man calling himself John Whaley claimed to have filmed this startling footage that morning. Suspicions it may not be real were aroused by the poor quality of the snowflake crop circle that was actually in the field, according to researchers. So I believe that is this circle that then appeared, and it just looked like it wasn't really up to par. It just didn't look as perfect as some of the other creations. I guess it stood out that way. The video was later looked at by investigators, and field discrepancies were found on the video, suggesting that at some point the video had been rendered as an animation sequence. According to Lee Winterson, a crop circle researcher involved in the case from the start, who exposed it as a hoax in an article on robertscotch.net. A private investigator was hired, and John Whaley was discovered to actually be John Wabe, an employee of the Bristol Animation Studio. Mr. Wabe is even reported to have made a video confession that it was all a hoax, filmed on location at Oliver's Castle. That video doesn't exist, at least not on the internet, okay? I've seen several people posting that they were desperately looking to find this confession video. That seems to not be able to be found online though. However, there was, and this is a quote from an article, a documentary made by National Geographic in 2005 with the man who claims to be John Whaley, and that there's about 5 seconds of footage in that documentary where he confesses that the whole thing was a prank to see how people would react if that footage was placed in front of them. A lot of this information can be found in this great Reddit post. The guy gives loads of references as well where the information comes from, with links to these articles. So if you want to dive deeper into it, I will link this exact comment through a link down in the description. You can check it out yourself. It also includes the original video. By the way, I think that these white objects that we see flying over the field actually were this is just me speculating, actually were probably just birds, right? It looks so much like just 2 birds cruising over this field, but then obviously they augmented this indentation of the crop circle, probably with a frame-by-frame animation technique or something. I have no idea how exactly technically they did it, but since a lot of research has been done on this and everyone comes to the conclusion that it is confirmed that this guy did this, there are several people who independently said we spoke to the guy and he confirmed that it's a hoax. Plus they found these field discrepancies in the footage footage that are suggesting that the footage had been altered and actually been rendered as an animation sequence. Plus, he worked for the Bristol Animation Studio. Okay, I will give it a small debunk. A small debunk. Okay, I don't have a small one. Yeah, maybe I need to speak to my animation department. You know who I'm talking to. We need a small, quiet debunk. Anyway, moving on. Okay, last video we're going to talk about today, and that's the creature in creepy hole video. All right, a little bit of a trigger warning here. A little bit of an unsettling warning. It's a little bit of an unsettling clip, okay? Not too much, but some people may perceive this clip to be unsettling. It is a little bit of a strange clip, a little bit of a creepy clip. So if you're super sensitive to stuff like that, you may go somewhere else. But smash like before you go. Smash like, all right. Let's take a look at the clip.
Allah. Ya Allah.
سكر بسرعة بسرعة بسم الله بسرعة
Uh-oh.
إذا مسكروا
هات رش ملح
رش ملح ربك يا زلمة والله تخوفني يا زلمة الخوف بضحك قاعد
They're pouring all that salt over it. Right, I'm guessing the salt is like the horrible spirit can't touch the salt. Put the salt on it. So what's going on here, right? It had that spooky moment. I feel like we need a little bit of an enhance moment here, right? We need to really look at when it opened and this weird thing, I don't even know what it is, appeared on the other side of this hole. I'm gonna put this full screen and then see if we can up the quality to maximum, and then we might need to do a little bit of a frame-by-frame analysis. Oh boy, what is it? What is that? What is it? You can't really tell what it is, right? Some people say they see hands, like some kind of claws. I can't, to be honest with you, I can't really see anything that would make sense. Sorry, in the beginning, I think you can... There it is. Oh, yeah. Do you see that? They had a little bit of detail, actually. Yeah, I can see the hand. I can see the hand, right? There's like, the hand is like this, basically, towards the camera. There's a thumb over here going to the left-hand side, and the fingers would be here. So, I don't know, maybe someone is reaching up or something. But there's also a weird shiny part that looks like an eye or something. It's a creepy video, you know what I mean? It really creeped me out. But I mean, obviously the blokes are having a good time. You know, they're laughing. Okay, so it can't be that serious. What is it? They're putting salt on it. Maybe is it a giant snail? It could be a giant snail. Maybe a spider. Could it be Drake? Is Drake hiding in that hole? And why did the other guy not pull his hand out, right? In the end, when they're almost closing the hole, he still has like his whole hand, all the fingers on the other side of that rock, which surely you wouldn't have if there would be something underneath there that's really creepy and scary. So here's what I found out about this, explaining this. And maybe some of you guys who live in the Arabian part of the world can confirm or deny this. I don't know, but this is what I found out. So there is this creature called a jinn, right, in Islam and in Muslim culture. And it's like a spirit. It doesn't need to be bad or good, right? But it is a thing that people are like superstitious about, and it's like people believe in this kind of stuff, all right? So what people do apparently is they fake these jinn videos. Okay, they share them with their friends and with followers, and they record these videos. Apparently, it's a bigger phenomenon. And it's a little bit maybe comparable to, I don't know, like a Halloween gag or something. That is something that's a little bit spooky, maybe to scare the kids or something a little bit. And you just create these kind of viral videos. And by chance, this particular video ended up being really creepy. It has a really weird tone of voice to it, but most probably it is just one of these "we're locking away the jinn" video, because also the translation on the screen, the caption apparently reads, that's what I could find out, "How to trap a jinn in a well." So I don't know, it has all the hallmarks of it being a little video with the laughing and stuff, blokes having some fun for the kids to scare them and confuse them a little bit, and you're just trolling the kids a bit with the scary jinn video. But that's what it is for me. Maybe you have a different take on it. Do you think think it's real? Do you really think they were burying some kind of scary creature? But why were they laughing then? Why are they having a good time? Let me know your thoughts about all this and all the other clips down in the comment section below. I appreciate your time today. Don't forget to smash the like button, please. I know people tend to leave, right? When it comes to this part of the video, they're like, yeah, he just says the things. I'm gonna leave. It's like, no, hold on a second. Smash the like button, okay? Subscribe to the channel for more. Don't forget these things. They're important for you and for me. Also, you can join our Discord, all right? That's it. Join the Discord, link is in the description, but now be on your way. I see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. So before we get into today's video, I want to say thank you guys so much, okay? You've been doing a great job sending me all these videos. And that's why I can do another video today, even I just did one yesterday, because there are so many cases that are coming in, or so many videos and clips that I want to share with you guys. So thanks a lot for your hard work. I'm going to do my part. Let's look at 3 clips in today's video that we might be able to explain. Debunk, we'll see, all right? But these are exciting ones. I'm excited about these because they are really puzzling and they all have like a fair explanation of what it is. But again, if you disagree with my conclusion on any of these videos, please leave that down in the comment section below. You know, I'm not here to tell you what the ultimate truth is. I'm just giving you my take on it, on these clips. So the first clip that I want to share with you guys was shared with me on our Discord. The link to that is in the description. You can do the same if you got a clip that you feel is undebunkable. Someone said in the last video, that's this new favorite word, undebunkable. I thought that is a word, right? Something is undebunkable. I haven't found that video yet, but again, people are sharing videos with me like this one, having a hard time trying to make sense of what we see here. Let's take a look at this clip. So apparently this was on a flight from New York to Los Angeles, to LAX. It happened in 2018, okay? So you can see this lady, you can hear her kind of talking in the background, but she's like filming out the window of an airplane, and she's observing these 3 very bright lights, and it almost looks like a reflection, right? It looks like the sun is reflecting off 3 objects. It could be a self-illuminated object, but it could also be some kind of metallic aircraft or 3 metallic aircraft or something that reflect the sun. Now, I think it's fair to assume that it's some 3 objects, 3 things, right? And that it's probably not CGI, because if you keep going further in this video, you can actually see towards the end of it that, like, I don't know, there seems to be like smaller orbs coming out of it. Do you see this? Now suddenly there is another one. Do you see that? There's another light next to it. So it's puzzling. It looks real to me in the sense that it's probably real footage. I assume this woman recorded it. Also because the footage is 3 minutes long. Okay, so a 3-minute clip, and I don't know, man. It feels real. And there's one other thing that, because people often ask me, they're like, how would you spot something, whether it's CGI? You can fake anything these days with CGI. I'll give you an example of that. Do you see this? Do you see when she pans over to the edge of the window and the glass distorts the lights that are in the window, right? If you would do this with CGI, you would have the same shape here and it would fade out into like some kind of gradient. But the lights get distorted from the edge of the window, and that tells me the lights are actually there and were actually captured on camera. And it looks like there are 3 objects or something flying in a formation, right? My first thought was it's probably military planes. Since he's flying from New York to Los Angeles, it might be that he's crossing over Arizona or whatever, you know, military facilities and some air bases, and they test stuff, you know, they have planes and objects flying around that might be slightly unusual, and that would explain the formation. However, I did a bit more digging on it, and I noticed one thing as well, and that is that the lights seem to not move with us. And the way you can determine that is by looking at the lights in the beginning of the video. Look, they're rather far away. A line that would connect these dots would indicate something that's in the rather far distance. But now see, if we're skipping through the video, look how the lights are changing. They're starting to get closer to us, and by the end of it, they're almost parallel with the aircraft. Do you see this? Now you're looking almost 90-degree parallel at these 3 lights. So they're not moving with us. They're not staying in the same formation in a far distance. They are clearly either slower or stationary. These are not aircrafts. This is nothing that's flying in the air. These are stationary objects that are probably bright lights sitting on the ground. And at first I thought, could it be something like a Burning Man, a big festival, right, that just happened during that time? But then I stumbled across this video, and there it is. Okay, this is the Ivanpah Solar Power Facility. I think it's in the Mojave Desert. And it's not just solar panels, right? In the sense of like it's photovoltaic or something. It's like a bunch of mirrors, and they concentrate the heat towards one central point. Hence you get like this really bright spot. And then they farm electricity off that somehow. Don't ask me how it all works, but it's basically a power facility. And it's just a perfect match, right? It has the 3 lights. It is stationary. It would explain why, if you fly past it at some point, it almost aligns with you. The distance seems correct. The fact that there are these huge mirror fields around it, which have every possibility to reflect either the light on top back towards the airplane in a certain angle, or the sun or whatever that's around it. So that would explain the little orbs that we saw, right? It's just another short moment of reflection where a mirror aligns with the planes, and now you see the reflection. So I say confidently, this one is debunked, and that's a loud debunk, okay? That's a huge explosion. It's a massive one. I love this video though, and it really puzzled me at first as well. I was really intrigued. I was like, what could that possibly be? But now that I know, it makes so much more sense. And if you see this video somewhere, just say, it's just that power facility somewhere in the desert. But the mist and all that, it almost gives it the illusion of it flying into the clouds at some point, when actually it's just really rough parallax effect, and they are really far away, and the clouds are just moving between you and the station. So it's another example of how deceiving this footage can be. Or deceiving when you see something. If you'd be in the plane, you'd see this. You may be also like, what's that? Oh my God. Anyway, debunked. Moving on. Next, I want to show you a clip that was recorded at the Thunder over Michigan Air Show at Willow Run Airport. And what people claim you will see is a Tic Tac UFO shooting down a plane or deactivating a plane. And these guys are doing an air show. They're flying some kind of old Russian airplane, I believe. So it's not a contemporary jet or anything. But check out this footage. It's quite action-packed. Fasten your seatbelt. Boom. So this plane actually crashed shortly thereafter. I don't think you can see the explosion in this particular video, but the plane hit the ground and exploded. So let's take a look at that again. I don't know if you noticed the small UFO that flies over it, right? It flies overhead there. And people are speculating that UFO, you can't see it, but shot some kind of energy beam at this aircraft, and hence they had to evacuate or whatever. So that's the first thing, right? If you look at this footage, obviously it's not exploding. The aircraft is not exploding in this moment. What you see here is just like the pilots ejecting. So what you see here that looks like smoke and an explosion is basically just like a controlled micro explosion that blasts out the shield or whatever is put there to protect the pilots, and then they can shoot out with their ejection seat. And if you read about the incident, there was a reason for that, because the plane was stalling. I don't know the details, but probably they were too slow and didn't have enough speed, and they knew that they can't make up for it now. The plane will go down, so you better save your lives and eject. But what about that UFO? Does it have anything to do with it? Let's take a closer look at this footage at the highest possible quality, which is 720p. Let's go. So there it is, okay? Let's take a look at this, because it's seemingly... Here, we're talking about this here, yeah? That's what turns into the little Tic Tac that flies overhead. Look, it's here, right? It's still there. It's not gone, because a lot of people have been claiming that it appears out of nowhere. So there's obviously heavy compression on this video. You can kind of see it then appearing here, going to the left, and then up here suddenly it starts to look like a small Tic Tac, right? Like a small cigar-shaped UFO. Here's a close-up of it, and it looks puzzling, right? It has this white top, the slightly darker underside. Does look like a Tic Tac, does look like an object. But I'd like you to look at how this object appears and how it looks in the very beginning when we first see it. Let's rewind one more time. Let's see. Look at this. What does this look like? It's got a little wing on the right. It's got a little wing on the left and a small body in the center. It's a bird. It's a bird. And that bird flew over that aircraft while these pilots had to eject is just a coincidence. You can actually see the bird flying straight more towards that cloud in that direction and then spinning over towards the plane, going over the plane. You can literally see, if you pay attention, how the wings fly to the side that I just pointed out, and how it then, because of the distortion, turns into this weird tic-tac shape and looks all weird. Do you see this? It's literally a bird that flies sideways and then stabilizes. One more time. See it? So look, I wasn't there. I don't have super HD 4K footage of this incident, so I can't confirm 100% that it's debunked, but it's most probably a bird. Also, the pilots did not report that they saw anything unusual or there was anything there. It's most likely a coincidence. Okay, that's my take. But maybe you have a different take on this footage. Leave that down in the comment section below. Yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on these clips as well, because maybe you can open my eyes and show me something about these clips that I hadn't seen before. Anyway, I give it a small debunk. Small debunk. There it is. Moving on. Now the last clip I want to share with you guys today was recorded over Las Vegas. And there's this club, gentleman's club, I guess. It's called the Sapphire. And this guy's standing in front of it, pointing the camera to the sky, and you'll see something very intriguing. Check this out.
What the hell is this? Honestly.
Okay, he clearly had what the hell is this? He can barely speak. But his footage is fairly compelling. This is strange, right? So it's a bunch of lights in the sky while these spotlights, which are clearly from the club, right? I'm not saying the spotlights have any significance, but these spotlights are like shining across the sky, putting a bit of a show on. Now, here's what's intriguing about this. You would assume that there are only two options for something like a phenomenon like this to occur, right? Either you light it from underneath, you have spotlights that are red and these colors and shapes, and you light it up into the sky, or you have something that's above the clouds or inside the clouds, like a UFO that has these lights on it that glow, and that's why you see it kind of shining through the clouds. Now, if it would be the first option I described, with spotlights going up at the clouds, then we would see that, because we have huge reference spotlights right next to it. And they show us that any spotlight would probably be visible, right? Just as the other spotlights are visible as they go through the night sky. They become these long white streaks, but there are no colored streaks or any light that seems to shine from the ground towards these lights that we see here. So what is it? How does that even make sense? And then what's also interesting I find is like that it's almost seemed to have like a triangular shape, right? There's a light here, and a light there. It's not a perfect triangle, but who knows? It could be at a certain angle in that cloud. And then obviously the big red light in the center, which looks also great. It seems to be almost round. I mean, also notice that some of these other lights, like these yellow lights, they look like almost like beans or something. You know, they are curved. So loads of interesting stuff going on there. Very weird. Look at those red lights, right? It almost needs to seem to indicate that there's a whole ring of red lights there. I just stumbled across this video. Check it out.
There's a UFO directly above the club.
So this is apparently the Sapphire Club, and I guess these are the security blokes. And there's a bit of drama going on because there's a big UFO that we've just seen hovering right above the club. Is it the invasion? Aliens confirmed? There it is. Same thing. So it's been recorded from various angles as well. It's not just that one video that we have, so we can probably fairly assume that it's not CGI. However, it is explainable, and we do know what it is. Similar phenomenon have been recorded around the world. For example, we find images like this one. This was recorded apparently in Shenzhen in China, and it was determined that it is an atmospheric optical phenomenon that occurs when natural or artificial light reflects off flat ice crystals in the air. Okay, so it is almost like ice crystals are freezing within clouds, and it's like a mirror, and what it does is it reflects the city underneath. The sky becomes kind of a mirror, and the bright lights that you would have in Vegas are reflected in that surface within that cloud. So Mick West actually went through the effort of mapping this picture from the sky on the city of Las Vegas underneath, and he found a match. Okay, so there's the Encore, the Wynn. I'm not familiar with all these hotels, resorts, and casinos, but if you remove it, it does match. And you can actually see, you remember how I spoke about the lights looking like a bean because they're curved? Well, here you see why. Because these buildings are curved and obviously brightly illuminated. The Hilton Hotel in the center seems to be the red light that we see here. The Strat over there, a bit further away, the Palace Station. And then you have these little moments where this glint appears, right? And obviously, again, that is just an ice crystal that sits at the exact right spot. And then when these spotlights go over it, it reflects and shines and becomes these little sparkles almost. Or it almost looks like a light that's blinking on some kind of aircraft. So again, it's a brilliant illusion. I love this so much. much. And there's this thread on Metabunk where they go into way more detail about this as well, even mapping down exactly where this light in front of the Sapphire Club is and, you know, where it sits geographically in this reflection. Makes a lot of sense. I'll link this thread down in the description as well. You can dive deeper, check it out yourself. But guys, that's it for today. I think those were great cases. If you enjoyed the video, then please smash the like button. I should say this in the beginning. The videos where I say it in the beginning, as annoying as it is, they always get more likes. I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, smash like, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done that, and join our Discord. Okay, the link to that is in the description. Share your videos with me. I appreciate it. Have a great week. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being here. In today's video, we're going to look at 3 more UFO incidents. I've got 2 UFO clips and 1 mysterious incident that occurred in Australia to share with you guys. We're going to try to make sense of these incidents, try to debunk them, at least explain them where we can. Now, I would say that the clips we're going to look at today are less clear-cut than some of the cases we looked at in the past, where it's very clear and defined what it is. So I'm going to try my best to point out the inconsistencies and ask questions with you guys when it comes to this footage. Now let's jump into the first clip. First clip was shared across platforms. I saw it on Twitter, I saw it on Reddit, but it also links back to this NewFork archive entry, okay? And everyone knows what NewFork is, right? I don't need to tell you guys. It's obviously the National UFO Reporting Center, which was founded in 1974 by presumably Peter Davenport, who looks like this and still uses his picture from 1974. But anyway, they do archive UFO sightings and footage like this, so it's a very useful platform actually. And we get a little bit of information about the sighting, presumably from some kind of form filled out by the witnesses. And it says here that the estimated size is, it was large. The closest distance they were to the object is football field. The sighting occurred in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we get 2 videos, quite impressive videos actually, from the incident. They apparently filmed this from their backyard. It's filmed through this kind of tree line. Let me make it full screen and then we can probably look at it together.
Oh my god,
Peter, there's aliens in our backyard. So it's a bunch of lights, and I'm probably gonna let me cue some ominous music here, because I feel this is footage that kind of needs a bit of ominous music, and they don't say much anyway. So you can see this object flying behind this tree line, and there seems to be all kinds of colored lights there, right? You seem to spot some red lights, yellowish lights. It also seems to be circular, right? Just looking at the object, it seems to have like, I don't know, like a circular front or something. But then again, now looking at it from the side, because now we're getting a slightly different angle, right? In the beginning, it looked very circular, or at least V-shaped or something, right? Not necessarily circular. But then by the end of it, as it almost flies past us, now it does look less circular, right? Now it just looks like a small aggregation of lights that are definitely not connected to some kind of bigger circular or triangular object, right? It doesn't look like that in the end there. There's a second piece of footage. Let's look at that as well. Obviously the same object behind the same trees. And
coming towards us.
It's coming toward us. Peter, it's coming towards us. And here you can kind of seem to see pink lights, green lights. Now this might in part be due to this distortion of the trees and the camera, obviously, but you can really see here that some yellow lights seem to flicker in there. Now, I love this footage. I think it's cool, it's intriguing, it's mysterious, but unfortunately, these 2 clips is all we got. As far as I'm aware, there are no other corroborating sightings or anyone else recording the same thing that night. Now, doing a little bit of digging, that night was also some kind of big sports event in town, and during that sports event, they had a flyover, okay? Check it out. Flyover. He's very excited about the flyover. Oh man, so much freedom. Oh god, it's an explosion of freedom. Wow. Now you can see these guys have some kind of red sparks coming off their wings, right? And they're pulling this long trail. It didn't look like that at all, right? In the footage that we just looked at. That looked like singular lights sitting next to each other in some kind of formation. And actually this flyover over the town center of Charlotte caused quite a bit of commotion. There were other people sharing that, okay? That was recorded, and obviously because that's a wild sight to behold as you're driving down a highway or whatever. Very impressive, but nothing like the footage we've just seen. So it seems at first like just a big coincidence, right? That there was this flyover over town when those guys recorded this footage. However, I still think I can make sense of this. I mean, there are a few obvious common sense challenges here you have to ask yourself. Like, for example, why would an alien UFO have like flashing signal lights like that? It makes no sense, and it feels very much like something that's a very earthly thing, a very human thing, like blinking flashing lights is a human science fiction's idea of a spaceship. Also, why is that footage not long, right? Each one of these clips is like 20-25 seconds, and that's all we see. You would surely not take the camera down if you witness something like that and really don't know what it would be. Some people were speculating that it might be crop dusting. So that's something that they do at night. And I mean, look at this footage. This is literally a crop dusting plane flying at night. And I think we can see some similarity there. It has the series of lights. If they fly in a certain angle to you, or if this would fly in a certain angle, you would see like a series of light next to each other, which again takes me back to that flight team that we were looking at earlier, which by the way is called the Bandit Flight Team. Now, considering how similar this crop dusting plane looks at night, and considering that there was this big air show of like, I think 4 planes flying in formation next to each other, which surely all will have these kind of lights in front as well, I think I can make sense of what this woman witnessed here. This is a picture of the Bandit Flight Team, and you can see each plane has at least 2 lights on each end of the wings, and I think they have other lights in the center as well. And now they have these sparks going on from the center, right? They're putting on a full show. But surely they only put on that show when they're flying over either the very heart of the city or the specific stadium. You don't keep this on your whole flight time. So at some point, once the show is done, these planes would switch off the sparks, right? And the little trails of smoke or whatever they have behind going on. And then all that remains is a formation of 4 planes that have exactly these lights. And you can kind of see there are all kinds of colors in here. There's red, there's green, there are orangey lights. Obviously, right? It's an air show. And I'm convinced that's what we're witnessing here. The reason why we don't see the trail of sparks or whatever is because it's not switched on. This is just the Bandit Flight Team, either on their way to the stadium or coming back from the stadium, having finished their show. And now they're flying behind these trees. I love the footage though. I think it's really ominous. It's really intriguing and fun to watch. But I would say, there it is. We've done it again. Well done, boys. Moving on to the next one. Now, this one is an intriguing one, okay? It's more like a mystery rather than a UFO clip, and it all stems from this Reddit post I saw the other day that's titled, "Huge Metallic Silver Sphere Found in Australian Farm. The sphere is approximately 4 to 5 feet in diameter. Roger Stankovic, a director at MUFON, posted these." All right, so indeed, he did post this picture, commenting, "Huge metallic sphere found in a farm. Witness is too spooked to get a closer look." Trying to exclude the possibility of it being a Lincoln calibration sphere. Now, the Lincoln calibration sphere is actually really interesting. Basically, what that is a large aluminium sphere that is orbiting around the Earth since 1965, actually, and people use it to calibrate their radar. It's like a fixed point that you can reuse, and it's called LCS-1. I don't know if there are other ones. I could only find a reference to this particular one, so it would be a bit strange if that one calibration sphere lands somewhere in a backyard in Australia. Also, I think it's fair to assume that it would have been crumbling under the weight or the power of this impact, right? If something like this, a sphere, falls from orbit, surely it would have some kind of impact damage. Because keep in mind, these Lincoln calibration spheres are hollow on the inside, right? They have a fairly thin, few millimeter thin outside skin of aluminium, and then on the inside they're basically a hollow sphere. So surely something crashing from orbit onto the Earth would not look like this. Some people were also speculating whether this might be a piece of a rocket, right, that fell back to Earth, like for example a hydrazine tank, which is a tank that's kind of on the outside, attached to the outside of rockets and holds additional fuel, as far as I'm aware. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, here's an image of exactly that, a hydrazine tank that fell thousands of feet and landed on the Earth. So you can very, very clearly see the damage that's caused upon impact. And on the sphere that we are looking at, there are literally no signs of impact or re-entry that would suggest that this object actually crashed onto Earth from orbit or anything like this. Also, I found a fairly high-res image. I think it might have been sharpened artificially slightly, but not so much that it would add fake or artificial detail to it. But let's investigate. I mean, let's take a look at this. The sphere on top clearly has some kind of mounting point here. To me, it just looks like something where you can, I don't know, attach a hook or something to it in case you want to mount this. Also noted that down here on the bottom, it seems to have some kind of support leg holding it up. I don't know if we can kind of see a seam here on the left-hand side of the sphere. I don't know. That's a bit hard to say. But that's about all we can get from this image, really. We don't know what it is, where it came from. It's mysterious. But I think it's fair to assume that it's been sitting in this garden, wherever it landed, for a while. Okay, that's how I felt. Now, I've done a little bit of digging, and I found this genius reply to this Skyfire News. Skyfire News, I don't know what they are, who they are, but clearly some kind of alien and UFO news site, and they are titling 4 to 5 metallic spheres shown up in Australian farm. Would you get close to it? Would you get close to it? Would you dare to get close to this potentially incredibly dangerous sphere in someone's garden in Australia? I think there are other things in Australia that are more dangerous than this sphere. There are other reasons why I would not wander around in this garden besides this sphere. Anyway, then someone replied and said, yes, actually, I have gotten close to it. It's a garden ornament in a rural backyard. Here's a better photo. Note the fire pit next to it. Nothing exciting. Sorry. And it is very clearly the exact same sphere, and it was just some kind of polish thing. It was not a seam, right? But that brush you can see here that I pointed out earlier, not a seam. But check it out. There's the hook, the attachment hook. There's the support leg I spoke about, and next to it is a barbecue grill. I'm not going to make shrimp on the Barbie jokes using a bad Australian accent, okay? Smash the like button because I didn't do it. But I think that debunks it, okay? That's what it is. It's just a garden ornament. It's an unusual garden ornament, right? An almost extraterrestrial seeming garden ornament. But it's just that. It's just decoration, dude, in someone's garden. Moving on. Now, the last clip I want to discuss with you guys was recorded in Spain in 2016 and approximately at 4:30 in the afternoon. Now, the first half of this clip is an absolute disaster, and I watched it and I was like, bro, I mean, what am I even looking at? Okay, because again, someone sent this to me. If you want to share your clips, join our Discord. The link is in the description. Okay, join the Discord community. I'm hanging out there. Many other people are, and we share clips there. But like, I watched it and he keeps pointing out nothing in the sky, right? Like, look, he's like, it's right there. It's like, no, there's nothing there. But then towards the second half of the clip, it gets a little bit more interesting. I've almost abandoned the clip, but then suddenly, check this out. Check this out. And I'm even going full screen for this. So there is a thing, an object, cigar-shaped, seemingly spinning around in the sky. It's reflective. And this dude is literally the worst cameraman in the world. And I don't know what potato he filmed this with, because I don't think it was a camera. But the detail is disastrous. Luckily, we are able to extract these still imagery from this clip. And I mean, dude, I saw it. I was like, this is the lightsaber that dropped on Coruscant, right? Is that the one? It's still falling, landing on this planet? I mean, it also gives off like really weird adult toy thing vibes. Look, man, look, I'm just saying what I see here, okay? I'm analyzing this footage. It's clearly silver. It has a small indentation up here and up there. It is a little bit puzzling, right? And I can't really put my finger on what exactly it is, but I think I have a few theories and a few other aspects to point out about this video. Like, for example, check out, it's dangling, okay? Especially now, in the end of this footage, keep an eye on it. It's moving in the wind, but it just looks so much like it is attached to a string and just dangles around. Here, do you see this? Look at that. Look at that. That is just a thing, and now it's reached a point and it starts to spin back, right? You know what I mean? When something spins on a wire and then it reaches the maximum spin to one side and starts to slowly rotate the other way. Dude, it just looks exactly like it. So I'm not even sure this is a balloon. I have a feeling this is maybe something like, you know, like a cigar case. You can buy cigars sometimes and they come in these shiny aluminum tubes. Unfortunately, the video sits at like 240p, which is, I mean, I don't even know why I'm looking at stuff like this, but it makes it basically impossible to seriously analyze it because we just have nothing there. But if we go from the movement and how it was dangling, dude, I think it's a clear-cut case, man. It is something that's dangling off some kind of wire. It just looks exactly like it. But the illusion is good. I love how it looks, right? It looks really cool. And I mean, I know a lot of you guys will say, well, in the beginning of the clip, actually, he's filming a huge area of the sky, right? You can see everything there. And if there would be something dangling, if you would have some kind of, I don't know, fishing wire that's attached to some kind of stick or whatever it is, you surely would see this in these wide shots. Well, I would argue that you may not. If he attached the stick that holds that little object to his camera, so it kind of just always sits out of shot and it almost moves with his camera, then you could create an illusion like that. Because the truth is, when he zooms into the object, you only see the object in front of the blue sky. You never see the floor as a point of reference. So it could absolutely be something that's hanging off something that's basically mounted above his camera, but I can't really say. It could also be some kind of balloon, because you know, you can buy these types of balloons everywhere. It's pretty common. People use them for their birthday parties and whatnot. And you know, maybe there was something on it. Maybe these guys faked it, they manipulated it. I think all these options are more likely and a reasonable approach to this than saying it's aliens. Because why would aliens come here and then they lose control over their ship, right? It's just drifting through the sky. It's like, oh God, we gotta regain control over our spacecraft. The whole thing makes no sense. Again, when you put it through this filter of common sense, it just crumbles and falls apart. But guys, that's it for today. 3 cases. Like I said, probably a bit less clear-cut than the previous one, but I hope you enjoyed the video nonetheless. If you did, then please don't forget to smash the like button. Share your thoughts on all the clips down in the comment section below. Okay, I would really appreciate that. All the comments count, so I hope to see you down in the comments, maybe on our Discord. Smash like, subscribe, do the things. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back. I appreciate you hanging out with me and checking these UFO clips, because that's what we do on this show. We look at mystery-invoking UFO clips, paranormal clips, trying to make sense of them, explain them, and possibly debunk them if we can. And as always, I have prepared a bunch of clips for you guys today. Some of them are a little bit more of a deep dive, so I don't know if we get through all 3 clips that I prepared for you today in the time that we have, but we're going to make at least 2, okay? So that's definitely going to happen. But before we get into today's clips, I would kindly ask you to smash the like button on this video, because I know this is annoying. I know these YouTubers, smash the like button. I get it. But ultimately, it really helps me out, and this is your way of showing the YouTube algorithm that you're enjoying this content and that this is content that is worth recommending to other people. So if you enjoy the content, please reward me with a little smash on that like button underneath, okay? You can, of course, also comment, subscribe to the channel for more. I would appreciate that even more, but at least smash like. Okay, here I am begging. I'm on my knees. No, I'm not. I'm literally not. But let's get into the first clip. Now, the first clip is one that has been circulating on socials recently, like just in the recent week. It's from 2018, but for some reason it's been bubbling up again, and people have been discussing it widely. And that is the infamous, by now, clip of the pyramid or the big triangle over the Pentagon. And I'm playing the clip for you guys in the background so you get an idea. Obviously, the Pentagon is underneath the structure that you see spinning there in the sky. And it's actually not a pyramid, because a lot of people call it pyramid over Pentagon. It's actually a, what is it called? Tetrahedron, I believe, because it doesn't have 4 sides. It has only 3 sides. So that doesn't classify it as a pyramid. But I love this video. I mean, it's cool. I love the idea of giant flying pyramids above cityscapes, urban environments. I love that. But a little bit is like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, dude, I mean, this is 2018. We had fairly good smartphone cameras at that time. And here he is like, honey, get the 1997 camcorder, VHS camcorder. There's a pyramid over the Pentagon. Get the Game Boy camera. Okay, get the Game Boy camera out. I need to film this giant structure over the Pentagon. So it's an absolute potato film, right? And especially if you would see a ginormous pyramid-shaped object hovering and rotating over the Pentagon, you would think people lose their absolute mind. Everyone, especially in 2018, where everyone has like a phone in their pocket with a good camera, there would be hundreds and hundreds of films of this. There is more than one, and we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to look at the other clips that exist, the other recordings of this incident, but it's just a few. I found 3. There are 3 recordings of this incident, and I don't understand. There should be hundreds if this is real. So that already raises some kind of flags. Also, this clip that you may have seen, this green screen clip, night vision clip, whatever you want to call it, is not the original. The original clip, it looks a little bit more like this. At least that's what I could identify as the original clip. So I don't know why someone put this night vision filter over it and made it all look like Sam Fishery. But this is the original clip. Maybe they were just trying to amp up the contrast a bit, make it a bit more visible. But obviously it doesn't improve the quality, right? You look at this, you look at the green screen night vision film. It's both absolute garbage. However, there are more films of this. Like I said, the first one over the Pentagon, filmed from a steady camera from a little bit of a distance. Here you have one of a bunch of guys driving in a car, filming the same incident through the windows of their car. And I'm going to watch this with you guys. Let's check it out. It's maybe like 2 minutes or something. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. Keep in mind, you're driving through Washington, you see the Pentagon, and you see this giant, gravity-defying, stone-like structure hovering and spinning over the Pentagon, right? You would lose your mind. I mean, they say down here, as a disclaimer in the video, they say we could not stop because it's all highways which are really close to the Pentagon and they are restricted from stopping. So they were not allowed, allegedly. That's probably true. They're probably not allowed to stop on these highways, so they keep driving. But I want you to pay close attention to the reaction of the guys in the car. Is this how you would react if you would see what I just described. Let's give it a go. Hello, it's Monkey from the future. So in this part of the video, I had a whole long segment about these other witnesses who were driving around in the car and filmed the pyramid UFO from their car. YouTube struck that down and said, you can't show this part of the video. It's not going to be able to be monetized. So I had to cut this out brutally. But what I'll do is I'll link that clip with these guys driving in the car, filming the pyramid UFO from their car, down in the description so you can go check it out yourself. Unfortunately, I can't put it in. But trust me, they're terrible actors. They're not acting well in that video. Again, check it out in the description. Let's get back to the video. I think there's a third clip of it as well in the end. But my point was, this might be the same clip actually. It looks slightly more high res. But my point is, this is terrible acting. Okay? This is not how you react if you see a giant 500,000 ton, whatever it weighs, structure rotating, defying gravity and spinning above the Pentagon. That's not how you react. The acting is absolutely terrible. And then people will obviously point out that there are other sightings as well. Like, for example, this one above the Kremlin. Don't know if this was in 2018 as well, but it was spotted above the Kremlin in Russia. And it very much looks like the same object. And it also looks like they absolutely filmed this as well with the Game Boy camera. Now, what is it? Can we debunk it? Can we explain what it is? To be honest, with all the scrutiny I already put on it, to me, it just absolutely makes no sense, okay? The terrible acting of everyone in this car, the quality of the video, the lack of 300 other recordings of it, which would be absolutely the case. Even if it happens middle of the night, dude, that would spread like wildfire. A giant pyramidic shape hovering over the Pentagon, you wake up your wife for that shit, okay? If you see that, you wake up everyone you know to see that live. Didn't happen for some reason, so that already raises all kinds of questions. However, beyond it not being a TR-3B, which some people suggested as well, right? The TR-3B is an alleged secret aircraft that the US military is working on. It looks a little bit like that, but it is, obviously this is a rendering, but it's the idea like of a big triangular ship or something that the US military is allegedly working on. But the truth is, it's not really, it's not like a pyramid, right? Or like a tetrahedron or whatever. It doesn't have the right shape. The TR-3B is not really a match. And if you dig a little bit deeper into it, you will actually find that not only the Pentagon spokesperson described what happened there as a hoax, because there was no unusual activity at the Pentagon for the date claimed and for this alleged sighting, but there's also an artist who came forward and was credited with creating the images and the video, and he said in a tweet in 2019 that it was for the purpose of opening a conversation. So here's that tweet that kind of replies to this video being posted, saying, it's courtesy of Volta 7 Studios for the purpose of opening a conversation. Artist Ador helped us with this and many more spanning from 2011 to 18. Hashtag look WAP. What does that even mean? The same artist on his Instagram at the time posted images like this. Okay, giant pyramids over urban city landscapes. So there are some indicators that this is basically what it is, that this guy created the films, shared them for the idea of starting a conversation, as he said. However, there's another plot twist to it, and that is that when Lead Stories, this website here, reached out to this artist for the story, he responded by email in 2022 saying he had lied earlier, and he did not make the CGI. He had nothing to do with this, he said 3 years later, after admitting that he was responsible for it. So they were not definitively able to determine the source of the image, and there is no definite answer. But to be honest with you, I mean, look, we all have to come up with our own interpretation based on these facts I just presented to you guys. And you can leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you feel like now he spoke the truth, he wasn't behind it, this was potentially really aliens, this really happened? Because my feeling is, with all the scrutiny I listed earlier already, plus him admitting that it was him, plus him posting pictures of pyramids over cityscapes, urban landscapes on his Instagram account, all that coming together, and obviously that I think it's absolute nonsense. You know, if really there would be a structure like that hovering over the Pentagon, everyone would be talking about it. It's an undeniable fact. Everyone would have filmed it, and including the Pentagon, they would have come forward and said, yeah, the thing happened, we don't know what it is or whatever. So considering all these facts and putting them together, to me, it's a CGI job. Okay, I think this guy created it. I don't know why he lied later. I don't know whether he didn't want to claim credit for it, or he wanted to keep the conversation going, keep up the mystery of his creation, whatever the reason is. But all these hints kind of come together and give me the indicator that it's CGI. And here's actually another message from this artist. He said this a bit later, and he says, it is not the artist's job to explain his or her meaning. It is up to us, to the observer, to decide the meaning. Hashtag pyramid over Pentagon. Hashtag pyramid Pentagon. On December 19th, 2018, there was a levitating pyramid over the Pentagon. It was there rotating. I'm just reading what it says here. Silent for a few minutes before it completely disappeared into the night. Again, he's trying to build this mystery. At the same time, he says it's not the artist's job to explain the artwork, right? So that might explain why he now says, I have nothing to do with it, because he wants to keep up the legacy and mythicism around his creation, because that's what it was all about. But to me, I would go as far as giving this a tiny debunk. Okay, it's a tiny debunk. Obviously, I don't have it black and white. It's not a perfect proof, but you guys saw what I broke down, right? There's not that much wiggle room for interpretation. But again, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, but I'll give it a tiny cute debunk. There it is. Okay, it's cute. Ah, did you see it? Anyway, next video, we're going to Switzerland, okay? And this is what they call the bell-shaped UFO recorded over Switzerland. And again, there are several videos of this. It's not that just one person recorded it. I'm going to play the clip for you guys. And here you see this slightly odd-shaped, bell-shaped object hovering over a street. It seems to be gray, not much color on it. It seems to have this kind of indentation on the top protruding from it. I think here might be another clip, right? I didn't know they're actually putting this together as a compilation. But people are filming this object, this bell-shaped object hovering silently over Switzerland. And I mean, notice no irrational movement. Okay, it's not zip-zapping around or whatever that you get sometimes with other UFO videos. It's calm, it's quiet, it seems to move in the wind. But it's clearly the same object, right? Like if you compare it, it has a little flap down here on the right. This one has a little flap down here on the left, so it might have spun around or be in a different angle. It has the protrusion on the top. It has that little thing hanging from the bottom of it. So it's clearly the same object. I don't think anyone can deny that. And here's another clip of someone filming the same thing. I think this is another clip. That's not the same one as before. So first of all, I think it's fair to exclude CGI. So many people filmed it. Look, again, we've just seen it with the pyramid. Sure, you can fake 3, 4, 5 films that all have the same object in it to gain credibility. But to me, in terms of how this looks, in terms of the tracking and the authenticity, it looks real, okay? I don't think this is a CGI creation, even we get 2 different clips of it. It is interesting in terms of the shape. It's a very unusual shape. And obviously we have the whole history of like, you know, Nazis building bell-shaped UFOs. And there's a whole part of history about that, which obviously people are sparking in the comments and replies to this. The famous bell. And some people are rightly pointing out that it looks like a giant gas propane tank. Right? And it really does look like a gas propane tank with the part on the top and all that. It's very, very similar. Someone else saying, look, it's just a big propane tank. People are on the right track, because if you do a little bit more digging on this particular case, you find out very quickly that yes, it is a huge propane tank. That's what it is. It's like a hot air balloon in the very far distance. So it is so far away in these clips as well that the red disappears. There are some clips of this where when people zoom in, you can actually still see some of the red, a little bit of a red shade, but obviously these balloons are huge, and if they're in the really, really far distance, then, you know, just the atmosphere and the air in between, you will kind of filter out the colors. It's the same effect when you take something that has certain colors and you dive 50 meters underwater. It almost nullifies and cancels out the colors, so that's why you don't see them too much. But videos of this object have been floating around the internet for a while, and I think it's pretty clear. If you look at this breakdown, then you know it's just this, and that's why it has the little basket on the bottom, right, where actually there are people inside. So big debunk for this one. It's definitely all right, that's 2 clips debunked, and I'm just wondering, can we do one more? Do we have time for one more? Fine, we'll do one more. Okay, last one shows an unidentified flying object over Gdańsk. Gdańsk, I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it's somewhere in Poland. Okay, this is mysterious footage. Okay, so check it out. It looks super real. Glowing object flying off into the distance, and if you listen to the sound, you can almost hear like jet engines or something that propel it forward, which is very unusual, right? Normally when you see UFOs and have these sightings, they're silently hovering across the sky, but not this one. This one makes noise, and it looks very, very real, and it moves. Do you see that? How it almost seems to have this kind of wavy move. And there's another piece of footage of the same object flying over Gdańsk. Gdańsk. I'm really trying to say the name properly, okay? I'm not making fun of it. But here is that clip, and now check this out. I mean, this looks so good that I was like, no, dude, this has to be CGI, right? This cannot be real. Like, how could this possibly be real? Because again, the thing that really gives it away for me as this being human or not extraterrestrial is like the little LED animation on the bottom of it. It's like what like aliens are doing little disco visuals on the bottom of their spaceship. Why would they do that? That makes no sense. So looking at this, it was pretty clear to me that it's not extraterrestrial, okay? But what is it? What could it possibly be? Well, you do a little bit of research and you actually find out that the whole thing was an art project, okay, by Peter Coffin and Cinemod Studios. Artist Peter Coffin and lighting designer Cinemod Studios collaborated on a lighting display that involved a flying UFO over Gdańsk in Poland earlier this month. So this is cool, right? You can see it in the warehouse where they're building it. Sweet stuff. The performance was part of the Gdańsk Festival of Stars. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. That also makes sense why it's like animated and fun. He was not really trying to get people to believe it's aliens, I guess, but more to celebrate the Festival of Stars. The aluminium UFO structure measured 7 meters across, which is huge, and was covered in 3,000 individually controlled LEDs, controlled by a solid-state computer and powered by an onboard generator. The LED display of the series. The UFO circled the city center suspended from a helicopter on the 4th of July. Watch a video of the performance here. Right, so they couldn't get this object. I mean, obviously, again, this is 7 meters, right? This is a huge, huge object. It wouldn't be easy to get that to fly so easily and so effortlessly across the city. So it's a smart move, right? They have a helicopter over it, which suspends this object from underneath. But obviously, if you film it like that, that's presumably also why they're cutting it so harsh, like on the top of the spaceship. They're not filming with the spaceship in the center because then possibly you would have the helicopter in the picture. But it's still really cool, like in terms of it being UFO footage and like just mysteriously looking flying saucers over cities. I think this takes the cake. I had to do the research to understand what was going on, but then I think once it was debunked. Oh, did you see it? I think for a brief second you could actually see the helicopter. There it is. There it is, frame by frame analysis. I don't know if this is the helicopter, but I have to assume that it is. It would kind of make sense also in terms of it stopping now and it's slightly going forward and dangling. Anyway, cool footage, but not aliens. All right, I'll give it another small debunk. And I think that's all we have for today, guys. There's more content coming, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoyed the video. Again, I would really appreciate that. You can also join our Discord. The link to that is in the description. I would hope to see you there. You can share your clips with me. It's always appreciated to get input from you guys on these videos. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. The Rendlesham Forest incident happened in 1980, but till this day it remains one of the most talked about and often put forward as one of the most credible UFO cases that are out there that are being discussed. It's titled Britain's Roswell. I guess the newspapers titled it that at some point, but it's a huge case. It is also one of my favorite cases. I love the whole story. I love that there's so much military personnel involved. I guess that's why it is such a big case and why it enjoys so much credibility. Now in this video, I want to deep dive only into this case, and in the first part of the video, I'm going to break down the story because not everyone knows the story, so I feel obliged to tell you guys what actually happened, give a little bit of a summary. But if you're already familiar with the story of the Rendlesham Forest incident, then feel free to just skip to the second part. Use the timestamps in the video and you can just skip to the questions and answers that you want to hear, because the whole second part of this video is all about questions around the case and skeptical analysis. Okay, so let's get into the story itself. What happened? What is the Rendlesham Forest incident? Now, please keep in mind as I'm going through this, I can only give like a top-line summary of the story. There's no way for me to get into all the details of it. I mean, that 2-hour documentary is just about this incident. Books have been written, so there's a lot of detail that I can't cover here. But in a nutshell, the Rendlesham Forest was a series of reported UFO sightings of unexplained lights near Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England in December 1980. The events occurred just outside of RAF Woodbridge, which at the time was used by the United States Air Force, and around 3 a.m. on the 26th of December 1980, a security patrol near the east gate of RAF Woodbridge saw lights descending into a nearby Rendlesham forest. Then a team of airmen, including Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Holt, left the base to investigate and descended into the forest while Holt was using a dictaphone to record his commentary. Keep in mind, this is 1980, not everyone has a smartphone that would record. So he records his voice using this dictaphone, and that recording is in its full length, I think it's like 16 or 17 minutes, available on the Wikipedia page of the incident. So I'll link that down in the description. You can go check it out. They were also carrying an image intensifier, and you'll see later on, we'll get to that, how that becomes relevant in the story. Well, that night, those men chased a varied assortment of lights, which they described as weird phenomena. They claimed that they had encountered an alien craft, which they even established a landing site for. Following the incident, the men filed top-secret witness reports, which were strictly classified. However, later on, copies of the tape recording were leaked, and the incident attracted attention. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Holt also wrote a memo to the Ministry of Defense, reiterating that he believes that he witnessed an extraterrestrial event that was then covered up. So that is publicly available as well. And that is the beauty of this specific case, because it happened in 1980. A lot of it has been documented at the time, and now through the Freedom of Information Act, all the witness statements, everything has come out and is publicly available. So we have a fairly compelling picture of what happened that night and how the puzzle pieces come together. I don't think we can answer all questions in this video. Please feel free to leave your questions that you feel may have remained unanswered after completing this video down in the comment section below. It'd be great to get a conversation started and just put questions together, that people may still have. So in a very top-line nutshell, that's the story of what happened. If you still want to dive deeper before we getting into the skeptical analysis now, I'll link a video down in the description by another YouTube user that breaks the incident down in way more detail. But now we're moving forward into the questions around the case and the analysis. And the first question I want to attempt to answer is, if Holt and his team did not see a UFO or aliens, can we explain what he saw? What are the theories out there? Can we try to debunk the phenomenon, the lights they chased that night, and make sense of it? The answer to that is probably a combination of several things. At the time at the location that they claimed to have seen something descending into the forest coincided with the appearance of a bright fireball over southern England. And that is not a very rare occurrence. Here's another video of someone filming something similar. This is just debris. It could be, natural debris, like whatever, meteorites protruding into the atmosphere. It could be other pieces of space debris. And you do see this kind of stuff. It's not super unusual. And keep in mind, an incident like that was perfectly mapped onto where they were looking and saw something descending into the forest that night. Second, the Senior Master Sergeant Kevin Condy has admitted that he played a prank on his fellow servicemen while on patrol at Woodbridge. This is described in detail in this now archived BBC article, and it says, Kevin Condy has said that he and another airman shined patrol car lights through the trees and made noises on the loudspeaker as a prank on a security guard nearby RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk. Mr. Condy also said it was fertile ground for a practical joke, and practical jokes are a tradition in the security police. We just drove down through the forest, flashing the lights through the fog. It wasn't a UFO, it was a 1979 Plymouth Velar. Condy also said, if they're out in the forest seeing red and blue pulsing lights, and I'm back here doing this prank with red and blue pulsing lights, what else do you think they are seeing? You have to call into question the judgment of military officers in charge of a frontline base in a Cold War who can't distinguish a UFO from a bank of police car lights. Ouch. So him shining these lights up into the sky could have created the impression that mysterious beams were actually shining down from the spacecraft, because this is like in part what Colonel Holt reported. And it would explain certain lines in the transcript of Colonel Holt's tape recording where he says, and this is a quote, "Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. Look at all the colors," right? And like this is how he described it, and it's exactly what he said, because Condy stated that he was using blue and red lights on that vehicle and using the front lights, that maybe through an angle on a hill or something he managed to give the illusion of them shining upwards. But it is a fact that Kevin Condy admitted to playing this prank on the other guys at the base. There's another point. The time of the sighting, Sirius was the brightest star that night, and it was sitting just above the horizon. If you check this out, this is roughly where Sirius would be sitting. Ignore the little red circle there. But it was sitting just barely above the horizon, just on the top of the tree line, and that was the brightest star that night. Plus, you have to include factors like atmospheric distortion, where it is possible that the star was ever so slightly brighter than it usually was because it was distorted through the atmosphere. Also, this coming back to what I said in the beginning, that they were using an image intensifier because the men were carrying a so-called star scope, okay? I'm sure you've seen those before. It is a little bit like a binocular, like a one-sided binocular. But these ones have like this kind of night vision green screen effect. And what they do is they amplify the light, and they can cause artifacts. You can kind of see it here, right? There are rays that are not actually visible, but if you look at them through the starscope, you will see them. So it is possible that some of these artifacts explain and make sense when talking about statements like we saw like a starlight object, right? If you would look at Sirius just above the tree line with atmospheric distortion and using the starscope, it might look like something that's bigger than it actually is. And then that combined with the fireball we spoke about, plus the other guy playing the prank using his car and, creating all kinds of light effects. But then there's also a fourth factor that plays into this. And I'm sure you may have heard about this before, because the nearby Orfordness lighthouse was operating that night. And there's various arguments floating around of why it could have not been the lighthouse. But if you look deeper into it, you'll figure out that they're actually all false. One big one is that there apparently is a shield around the back of the lighthouse that shields the view from the countryside. So the lighthouse only protrudes the light outwards towards the sea while not annoying the residents on the countryside. And that is true. But here's a picture of that exact lighthouse from the exact angle that Commander Halt was looking from. And you can see that the shield is there and it is blocking the residential areas that are over here on the left. But from the angle that we are looking at, the center of the lighthouse is exposed and we could see if there would be a bright, regularly occurring light there. Also, here's a picture from the pretty much exact location that Halt was claiming to witness the light. You can see the lighthouse. It is clearly visible, and especially at night, in a clear night, and it is winter, right? So there's not much lush greenery around here. You would be able to see this lighthouse and its illuminating light. What is also interesting in that regard is that Halt, while he made this voice recording, while being on the incident, he stated that the light he saw was in the same direction as the lighthouse and flashed roughly every 2 seconds, which is the exact flash rate of the Orfordness lighthouse. So it's another coincidence. It's another light phenomenon that happened in that night. So if you ask me, can we explain what they saw? I think we can. The confirmed meteorite/fireball coming down in southern England during that exact time in the right direction. The prank from the sergeant, right, on his fellow man with using the car. The Sirius thing, where you have the combination of the starscope amplifying the light, Sirius above the horizon being amplified through the atmosphere, and then, last but not least, the lighthouse nearby. And there's so much going on that night that you kind of can imagine that causes some confusion. But what about the other witnesses? Halt was not alone, right? He was followed by several men, and they all gave their own witness testimony. The witness reports vary greatly and are extremely inconsistent. James Easton, who is a writer specializing in UFO books and stuff, as far as I'm aware, he was the guy who actually discovered all these witness reports in some kind of military case file that was published through the Freedom of Information Act. And he discovered it, and he stated that each individual account conflicts with the other. But most damning of all is the admission that the men knew they were chasing lighthouse beams from the Orfordness lighthouse. Easton continued to say that one of Halt's men say that he touched an alien craft. Another man states nothing happened at all. Halt maintains a light out at sea is a UFO. Easton says he has identified that light as coming from the shipwash buoy, which is now out of service. I will link this site with all the witness reports down in the description as well. It actually really does make for an interesting read, and I'd recommend you to at least scavenge through it a little bit and see what you can find, because there are really interesting details in these. And you can find little diamonds like this one, which is a witness report from John Borrow. Okay, this is handwritten, and it states, it disappeared. Once we reached the farmer's house, we could see a beacon going around. So we went towards it, going around in the sense of like a lighthouse. We followed it for about 2 miles before we could see it was coming from a lighthouse. Then we continues, we just crossed a creek and blah, blah, blah. So he was admitting that even in that night, he realized that it was the lighthouse. We walked and ran for a good 2 miles beyond our vehicle until we got a good vantage point where we could determine what we were chasing was only a beacon of light off in the distance. John Burroughs has also implied that while he was supposedly under hypnosis, that he and Sergeant Peniston, also one of the witnesses who joined them at this excursion, were abducted by beings onto a UFO and spent 45 minutes there. Sergeant Jim Peniston, however, tells a completely different UFO story. In spite of supposedly sharing in Burroughs' UFO abduction, he claims that he touched the landed UFO and he received a message from it in the form of binary code, which he subsequently wrote down, however, did not tell anyone about it for 30 years. Okay, so this is the level of witness reports we're dealing with here. Commander Halt later allegedly also claimed that the Bentwater radar operators saw the object and it did 60 miles in 2 to 3 seconds, so enormous speed, and they were able to witness this. However, no radar operator ever confirmed that, or it was ever corroborated by other witnesses that that happened. In 2010, Jenny Randalls, who first reported on the case and reported it to the London Evening Standard in 1981 and who also co-authored one of the first books on the case in 1984 called Sky Crash, A Cosmic Conspiracy, suddenly emphasized that she had doubt about her findings, right? So again, she wrote this book in 1984, it came out, and in 2010, so quite a few years later, she now came forward and said that she has doubts that the incident was actually caused by extraterrestrial visitors. And she says, this is a quote, "Whilst some puzzles remain, we can probably say that no unearthly craft were seen in Rendlesham Forest. We can also argue with confidence that the main focus of the events was a series of misperceptions of everyday things encountered in less than everyday circumstances." Nicely put. So looking at this as a bigger picture, you can start to see how there are just questions coming up and the credibility of this whole case and story falls apart. Obviously, a lot of information that I'm presenting here is not being shown to you guys when you watch the Rendlesham Forest UFO documentary. That only tells you what you want to hear, right? They wouldn't tell you these kinds of parts of the story because they put it into question and make you question the phenomenon as a whole. But what about the landing marks? The landing marks on the ground. So a little bit of background there. I think a day or two after this incident actually happened, Commander Holt and a few other journalists and police and so on went out into the woods and they were able to locate the landing site and found indentations, a triangular shaped indentation, a pattern in the ground that Commander Holt claimed was caused by the spaceship they encountered. Now I could find these amazingly crisp images, photos that were taken on site in Rendlesham Forest in 1980 of these indentations. Now you can't see much, admittedly, but here in the second picture, and we only get two, you can see a little bit. So there's an indentation here. There seems to be one here on the left-hand side. And it's not that it's like perfect circles, like 3 perfect circles that will clearly be coming from some kind of machinery or unearthly object. It looks more like scratches or something to me. Now, admittedly, these are not great photos, but these supposed landing marks were investigated and looked at by police and by foresters and were identified by both as rabbit diggings. So I don't think the questions around these forest floor indentations really hold up. But what about the radiation levels? Right? This is another part of the story that we always hear. They were measuring the radiation levels at the supposed landing site and they were way above average. Is that true? No, actually that's not true. They recorded a 0.07 milliröntgens per hour on site. And in other regions around, they detected 0.03 to 0.04, which is still considered in the parameters of normal background levels. So it is not true that they measured these incredibly high milliröntgen levels and radiation levels there on site. However, what could have led to this confusion is that Commander Halt actually misinterpreted his Geiger counter reading at the time. And that is how this whole rumor that they measured radiation on site may have started, by him telling people, wait, I measured the radiation and it was way off the charts, but he just misread his meter. So in conclusion, I think there's a lesson to learn here. And I think the lesson is that even if we have military personnel, people who are allegedly trained in observing military and light phenomenon, it doesn't mean that these people can't also make mistakes or misread events. The meteor had nothing to do with the lighthouse. The rabbit diggings had nothing to do with either of these things. It's just a bunch of coincidences, that's from what it looks like, at least from the outside analyzing this, that all occurred that night that led to the confusion that has now been amplified over decades into what the Rendlesham UFO incident has become. So don't automatically take what military personnel say as the ultimate truth because they are such trained observers. Don't jump to conclusions and don't make connections where there are none. Okay, I think that's the conclusion of this story, guys. So anyway, this is my breakdown of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then smash the like button. I would very much appreciate that. Maybe leave me a comment with your thoughts. I'm sure there are many other questions that I haven't answered in this video. If there are any, again, please drop them down in the comments and I'll see if we can answer them together. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you watching. Smash like, subscribe, join our Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. Another episode. We're going to look at some exciting hand-selected UFO clips that I'm going to present to you guys today and then put them through the scrutiny of a skeptic, all right? So I've got 3 clips for you guys today, and I just noticed as I put the camera on and I looked at myself, I look like Giorgio Tsoukalos, I think is his name, right? Is that his name? Alien guy? Aliens. It's unintentional, okay? I don't know, my hair just looks like that today. But let's get into today's first clip. This one allegedly recorded a military chopper following a strange object / UFO. People on Twitter asking, what is it? And I saw this, I was intrigued. I love this clip, check this out. So we can see what seems to be a chopper, a helicopter, I don't know if it's a military helicopter, seemingly following an orb that seems to be damaged or on fire because it clearly pulls like a trail of something which looks like smoke behind it. So I think this is such a cool clip because it shows the chopper, it shows the object, it's very clearly, it's daylight footage. I don't think it's CGI. So what could it be? What could it be? Is it some kind of alien gender reveal party, maybe? Could they be seeding chemtrails? Is that what they're doing? Have the aliens finally joined the Illuminati and now they're all like seeding chemtrails? But in all honesty, let's analyze this, okay? So one thing I noticed immediately is that they almost seem to be flying at the exact same speed. Did you notice this? Which is odd. That they would be flying at the exact same pace. It almost looks like they're interlinked somehow. Do you know what I mean? And that ultimately opened my eyes to what this actually is. So this shows a helicopter carrying water because there's a fire somewhere. I'm sure you've seen these before, right? They're carrying these tanks underneath that they fill up on lakes, or we've seen it with swimming pools. There's videos of that on the internet, and then they splash the water over places where there is fire. But despite this debunk, there are a few things that we can learn from this video, in my opinion. Like, for example, it really illustrates how you don't see strings or even thicker cables in compressed footage like this that has been uploaded to Twitter or YouTube and stuff. The cables, the wires just seem to disappear. And that also explains why we don't have hundreds of recordings of this of people saying, oh my God, look at this object. Because when you saw it with your own eyes, you probably saw the wires and you could tell that it's just a helicopter carrying a canister, some kind of tank of water that pulls a water vapor trail behind it. So nice optical illusion. I really like this clip. When I first saw it, it really blew me away. And I even had a moment where I thought, is it possibly CGI? Do I see a little bit of jittering here? And I started to really question it on that end. But ultimately, I think that's what it is. It is just a helicopter with some water underneath. So big. All right. Moving on, next clip. So this clip was recorded in Santiago, Chile in 2019. And basically what it is there were these guys and they saw, allegedly, a light moving in the sky over these buildings. And what they did is they lighted a green laser pointer at that light, which seemingly was sitting in the sky. Check out what happened. So the light starts blinking, and in fact the light starts to shoot back with some kind of laser pointer, right? And it's like way above the buildings. And then it just keeps going on blinking like this. Now, few things we can notice here. I don't think this is a particularly hard debunk. But first of all, the laser pointer at the beginning clearly looks human operated, okay? This is exactly how it looks when a human tries to put a laser pointer on a target, and you go a bit to the left, you go a bit to the right because you can't keep it exactly on point. This is the look you get. Some people were arguing that it might be a drone, right? That the whole thing is a hoax and they've got a drone up in the sky and they've attached this laser pointer to it. But again, I don't think that's what it is because of how this laser pointer moves. It just literally looks like a human being holding it up. Obviously, a human being can't be sitting on a drone, So I don't think it's a drone. So what you're going to know is that Santiago in Chile is surrounded by giant mountains, okay? You get scenery like this. And if you would be, and you see this house down here, right? Standing in front of that house, looking up, you could absolutely see these mountains reaching up to the height of that light that we see in the clip. Here's another example, and you can see this all around that city. There are these huge mountains. And I think what we see here is just a bunch of guys on one of those mountains. You don't see the mountains very well because it's dark. But actually, if you go into Photoshop and you play a little bit more with contrast and gamma, you can start to see some kind of shape here evolving the background. It's a little bit amplified by the lights of these street lamps as well, but you can kind of start to see a shape like that in the background. Do you see what I mean? Almost like a pyramidic triangular shape to the top, and it looks like these guys are just on the top of that mountain, which we can't see because it is dark. And on top of that, when this film was recorded, it was very common that people in Chile would be carrying around green laser pointers, or laser pointers of all colors, I guess, because they were part of the protests at that time that were happening in Chile, because people were basically using them as a non-lethal weapon against riot police. You can see them here and note how similar these green laser pointer effects look like to the light that we've just seen. So in this case, they're shining it at like, this is horrible if you're the pilot of this chopper. This is absolutely unbearable. So you can see how it can easily become a non-lethal weapon. But that's that. I like the effect of the laser pointer, and I like the genuine reaction of the guys as well in this video, right? It really sounded like they were kind of surprised that there was that kind of response. So cool video, but I'm afraid it's not aliens. Again, guys, why is it never aliens, right? People keep asking me that question. I wonder why. Maybe you have to answer that question to yourself. Debunked. Next video. So this is a classic, and it has been posted in the Corridor Crew subreddit, who shouted me out, by the way, which was absolutely wild. I was shocked.
Now what does it look like?
Looks like a balloon.
Looks like a balloon in the wind.
It's a balloon in the wind.
So shout out to the sneezing monkey. He already kind of debunked this. And if you read this, basically there's some sort of like dispute. Some neighbors dressed up the balloon to look like Sputnik and then lifted it up into the air.
Oh man.
So I appreciate them doing that. Thank you guys so much. But in their subreddit, this video was posted. I don't know if they ever debunked it, because people say I would love the boys to see debunk this one. The dogs really sell it. And this was allegedly recorded in Vicente Chicloapan. I shredded that. In Mexico in 2022. And it shows some form of jellyfish UFO as well. The great thing about this clip is I don't need to put ominous music behind it, because it already comes with it. So we can see the jellyfish UFO approaching and then kind of coming to a halt there, right? Which is a bit strange. Changing its direction, flying towards the street. The dogs are kind of selling it, right? The dogs are really into it. They're barking after it. They're confused by it. You note that it's a little bit shiny here and there. It has like some kind of reflective parts to it, at least. Now, I guess the only really questionable part about this video is that it changes direction, and that it suddenly goes a different way. The way it moves, I think we can all agree, it very much looks like a balloon. And funny enough, someone on Reddit found a almost perfect match. I don't think it's exactly this balloon that they're showing here, but the shape is a really, really close match. So saying this is just a Mylar balloon at 200 times speed, and they're showing the shape of the balloon next to this reference image here, and you kind of can see the unicorn part here, right? Do you see this? Like the snout here of the horse. You can see the horn here. So it kind of lines up. It very much looks like one of those unicorn balloons, which obviously it could easily be. And if it's a bit deflated, you know, these balloons can reach a level where the helium is just worn out enough that they're kind of hovering at this kind of height, and they float around, and they can be manipulated by the slightest gust of wind. So if they come to this junction and it's fairly still in terms of wind, and then this breeze of wind comes through, that can absolutely push a balloon like that towards the street. So I think, to be honest, it looks very much like it is. I mean, it's 100% confirmed that it's not aliens. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Just sorry to disappoint you. But I guess with this balloon or this reference image, at least they found like a very close match to what this particular one could be. So I'm sorry. Despite the ominous music, it's just a balloon. Again, it's always balloons, isn't it? Love the footage, though. I think it's cool. I think it looks intriguing, but it has about as much credibility as Jeremy Corbell's Jellyfish UFO. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little selection of clips. There will be more coming soon. Keep sharing them with me. You know we're hanging out over on our Discord. The link to that is in the description. You can join for free, share your clips, and if they're good enough, then I will discuss them and try to explain and debunk them in this program. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for hanging out and just spending your time here, please smash the like button on your way out. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel, do all the things. Stay level-headed, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back to your favorite debunking show on YouTube. We're back. We're debunking a bunch more clips, and today we do something slightly different, something special. It's not UFO clips today. I have some mysterious clips. I have some alien-related clips. So we're just going through the backlog of all these things that we haven't spoken about in previous videos. Okay, so some alien stuff, some mystery stuff in there. So stay tuned. Exciting clips you may have not seen before ahead. Let's get into the first one. This one is called or titled, "A Man Stumbles Upon a Mysterious Hole in the Middle of Nowhere and Uncovers Something Utterly Astonishing." Okay, let's check it out.
I think this is a spot.
So he's trying to find this spot again somewhere in the woods, where he apparently saw like a hole in the ground before that was kind of mysterious. But here it is, he found it.
So, here is the hole.
And I don't know if you noticed this, right? As you walked past the hole, you could see something weird inside the hole. Did you notice that?
Cave or something. I don't know. That's what I thought was the first time.
So it looks a little bit like a cave or something.
I mean, it's how we really.
So, anyway, it's a 5-minute video. He says it's in the middle of nowhere, right underneath this oak tree. Just a hole. So he says when you look inside, there are actually stairs down there, and check this out, right? So there's this hole in the woods somewhere underground, and it leads to this incredibly long and illuminated staircase. Like, that doesn't make much sense. So he actually goes inside then and takes a closer look, daring as he is, and he says like that the stairs actually that lead up looked like they were leading up even further at some point, right? They were going past the surface level. That's how it looked. But anyway, so then he's also kind of weirded out by this whole thing and how all of it is illuminated and stuff, right? It makes no sense. And then considering there's this simple hole in the ground. But anyway, so he descends down and keeps going down. And you see like these lamps left and right. They're like beautifully golden, you know, little cylindrical lamps, like all rather considered and stylish and clean as well. Very weird. So then he, you know, comes to a little curve. That's where he's now, right? Like he's coming from the upper left, comes around the corner, and going down the corner, there's like an infinite amount of stairs, what seems like an infinite amount of stairs, continuing down. So he keeps going down all those stairs, right? Because he wants to find out, and he's much braver than I am. And then by the end of it, and that's where it gets really, really strange, right? So by the end of it, he comes to this really odd door that doesn't fit the whole thing. Like everything else looked rather considered and clean and, you know, like some kind of bunker entry or something. And here he is, and this just looks like a weird old residential door somewhere. So anyway, he goes inside, and what he discovers is kind of puzzling, right? So he films through this metal mesh thing. He goes underneath. And actually, there's like this counter, like a desk type of thing. And what he actually discovers looks a lot like a shopping mall, right? So suddenly he finds himself in this shopping mall space, you know, these shutters down and everything. And it makes no sense. I mean, if you check the original video, I'll link it down in the description, you see how far underground he went. And for a shopping mall to be there, it just makes absolutely no sense. But it's there, right? And it's very, very strange. And there's a longer version of this video on YouTube, which we won't go through now, which I'm going to link as well in the description. And you can check it out because apparently he may discover something down there in this shopping mall. If you watch the whole video, go check it out. So I was intrigued by this. I watched it like, what the frick is going on there? Why have I never seen this before? Well, there's a reason for it, okay? This is not a real film. This is a short film made by a guy called Kane Pixels, and he is 17 years old, okay? He's also the guy who was majorly responsible for the whole backrooms meme, right? You're familiar with this. These slightly weird, geometrically odd spaces with these odd creatures inside and people in hazmat suits. This whole thing, he invented that as well, I think. So he created one of the first movies where he created like this illusion of them walking through this infinite space of these kind of wallpapered walls that just make no sense at all. So this same guy, Kane Pixels, created the film we just saw. And there is actually a longer version and a more high-res version of it on YouTube, but I just felt the other one was kind of slightly more mysterious, so I decided to show you this one. But you can check this one out. Obviously, it has more details, but here's the thing, right? He says it himself. He's using Blender to create this, right? So he's rendering this. So the whole staircase, everything that you see here is not real. He rendered this. It's a 17-year-old guy on his presumably fairly powerful home computer, creating these visuals. And he clearly blends reality with footage. You can kind of see it when you see this. There's like the staircase in the hole, and it looks ever so slightly off. The camera wouldn't capture it. You see as he walks towards the hole now, keep an eye on it. You see this? You could already kind of see the staircase, but it looked off. I think the camera wouldn't have filmed it that way. So there's a few indicators that give it away if you're really trained when it comes to CGI stuff. Like you see, I think, for example, this is a CGI shot. But the outside world, he must have had like a green screen in there. What you see up here is mapped to be real footage, okay? So he's blending reality and CGI elements as you see them here. And again, if you look really, really close, you can kind of see that some of the rocks look more modeled than they are real. But it's all like absolutely minor detail. And if you don't have the trained eye, you would never notice this, right? Also, towards the end of this clip, there's this lamp on the wall. Check this out over here on the right-hand side. And you can clearly see it's off. It doesn't look right. I don't know if this is towards the end of the tunnel scene, so I don't know if he got like sloppy with his lights positioning towards the end of this. But like, look how it looks almost wrong, right? How dark it is in the spot and how the light seems to be bleeding through the side of this lamp. Because this is like a cylindrical lamp, and you've seen it in other examples previously. It may look like this. The main part of the light is kind of distributed underneath, and you may have a little bit of like almost like a V-shaped shadow, and then there wouldn't be any light here right next to the edge of this lamp. But that's exactly what you can see here in the later clip, right? So it's little details like that that will allow you to spot if something is CGI or not. This light doesn't seem right, okay? It makes no sense the way you see it here. And then later when he reaches the shopping mall area, I think, I don't know, right? I'm just speculating here, but it feels to me this might be real footage as well, that he may have shot in some derelict shopping mall, and then he created like a little cut somewhere that nobody noticed, where he then blends from the CGI footage to the real footage. And I don't know where. I mean, there are some elements here where it's literally black, where the screen was literally black for a second. So it could be, I don't know. It's very hard to tell because he's reaching a very high level of realism with his renders as well. Great film though. Go check him out. Please go and check Kane Pixels also on Twitter and stuff. Follow him there. Okay, really good stuff. I love this video. Really misled me, and I can totally see where he's going with this. I think he's also making a Backrooms movie at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. He's working on a bigger project, so let's see where that's going. Anyway, moving on. I don't want to give this a debunk, okay, because it's a short film, so it doesn't really count. Nobody ever claimed that it's real. Let's get to the next one, and this one is a classic, okay? A real classic. It's a video that a lot of you guys have asked me to look at, to debunk, to explain. There are several ones of this. There are Skinny Bob, but there's also the DNI Alien Interrogation video that was allegedly recorded in 1991 and released in 1997. It was allegedly recorded, as far as I'm aware, in some kind of secret military base, and, you know, they're interviewing an alien here. It is from 1991, so the footage in itself just sucks. The quality is really, really bad. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't have covered it. If you go through the video, you can see it here. There's not that much happening. In the beginning, the alien is sitting there, and they have all kind of instruments, which, by the way, and I'm not going to go into this that much detail, but some of these instruments have been proven to be completely irrelevant for what they are allegedly doing here. And it's all very mysterious. It's very dimly lit, and every now and then, you know, the creature seems to descend back into the darkness and stuff. You never really see the whole body, but then towards the end of the video, the story is that somehow the creature got ill, it got unwell, and then some doctors come in and they do a little bit of a checkup. And this is the only time where you actually see some of the body of the creature underneath, because they're using a flashlight to look into the eyes and the mouth of this alleged creature. And you see a little bit of the body underneath, right? The flashlight's illuminated. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Maybe in 1997 or whatever, you got away with this stuff and people would have believed it. I'm looking at this, I feel like it debunks itself, right? Just watching it. You watch it and you're like, yeah, this is not real. But there's a few more indicators. Obviously, I spoke about it, like the dark room. Why would it need to be in such a dark room? And you can always come up with a counter argument, right? And say, well, these specific aliens, they like dark rooms. That's why it's a dark room. But it's like, no, or it's because we're hiding a lot of detail, you know? As it is so often, we're filming off UFO videos off screens. We're filming aliens in the darkest humanly possible environment, which is so stupid because this is a recorded interview, right, that the military allegedly put on in some secret facility of like an alien. Surely, I understand the alien doesn't like bright lights, right? But we want to capture all the detail of this alien, and this is our kind of potentially one shot to do this. So let's put up the lights a little bit so we capture some of the detail. No, make it really dim, make it really dark. It's clearly a tactical device, right, to make it more dramatic and to hide detail on the model. So I don't buy that at all. Also, the whole thing, the way the creature moves, especially when it seems to be in distress towards the end, allegedly, it just looks like a puppet, dude. Sure, you can always say, well, it's aliens. You don't know how aliens move. Maybe they move a bit more like puppets. Sure. And then there's the actual checkup by the doctors, which is also, it just doesn't make any sense, right? They're randomly putting this light brutally close to his eye and stuff, and he's not even blinking, right? Like, this creature doesn't blink at all. You put the light close to his eye, he's just staring at it. It makes no sense. The actual checkup, what they're doing, the guy in the background is not hardly doing anything, and the guy in the front, he's just like looking at his little slit of a mouth and his eyeballs. And also, I mean, note how they're manhandling this creature, right? Like, here's this, what do they call it, the EBBE or something? I think it had a funny name like this alien. But they're like treating it rude, you know, like rough and pulling the head back and stuff. There's no medical professionalism here in terms of how they treat this creature. So they're clearly just actors trying to look as convincing as they can. Now, where does this footage come from? Because I think that may give us a little bit of a hint whether it might be real. I mean, you kind of know what I think. I don't think it's real, but where it might come from, what its origins are. Because this alien interview was seen for the first time in the 1997 documentary titled Area 51, The Alien Interview. It even has its own IMDb page, and it has other characters in there that, you know, people would consider credible, you know, real characters like, you know, Bob Lazar. Art Bell lent his voice for this. David Adair is a famous UFO whistleblower, allegedly. So it's not that it's a mockumentary necessarily, but I read up on it, and there's a few indicators that seem to nudge towards this actually being a mix of a documentary and a mockumentary, because the way this is presented inside this documentary is that there's this guy who only appears in shadow, and it's a little bit like a Bob Lazar parody, right? If you've seen the documentary, you know what I'm talking about. He calls himself Victor, and he claims to have previously worked in Area 51, and that's how he somehow smuggled this footage of the alien interview out of Area 51. Again, this film is currently available on YouTube in full length. You can check it out, the whole documentary, and make up your own mind. But I've read some articles that put scrutiny on this particular guy, and that this part, the alien interview part and the Victor Area 51 employee in shadowed kind of outline, were staged. Okay, and that didn't exist. I don't know. Look, I can't prove it either way. It's just something I read. But what I can say is that the interview itself, the way it's conducted, if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just not very convincing. It's not acted very well. At some point, he terminates the interview because he was asked a question he didn't like, and then a minute later, he comes back and resumes the interview. It's just, the whole thing is just not very credible. And a lot of people like to claim, well, it's also never been specifically debunked. It's like, yeah, dude, okay. But we just talked about a lot of elements that are at least highly questionable, and I think that alien figure is a puppet. It's not the worst puppet, but it does look very much like a puppet. Maybe it's someone had their hand in them and moved them around a little bit. Who knows how they achieved it, but we will never know because the room was so dark. So we get almost no detail. On top of all that, there's also a whole Wikipedia page about this incident, okay, that I will link down in the description as well. You can get much more scrutiny on this Victor person and on the figure itself. They add more valuable theories about the creation of these puppets and what we see in the actual film. So if you want to dive into more detail, then do it through the link in the description. But I give it a small debunk, okay? A tiny debunk. Because it's debunked in my opinion, but you can always say, but not properly. Okay, fine. It's a small one. It's one of the cutie ones. All right, next I want to look at a clip that is spectacular. Probably a little bit too spectacular to be true. But it shows a guy, it's 26 seconds in length. It shows a guy running through the woods. Okay, so I don't know if he just always runs or that's kind of his thing, how he travels from A to B. But then watch what's going on behind him. Keep your eyes peeled, okay? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Homeboy's running. He's out of there, man. Okay, he's upset, understandably so. So there's this creature that at some point seems to come out of the bushes. I think we can exclude that it's an ape or something, right? I don't think it looks right. It looks very grayish and zombie-like, and it runs after him. Let's look at it at 25% speed. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so you get a bit of an idea. So, see this guy running after him. Here's what I think this is. I don't know, obviously, but I think what we're looking at here is CGI. Someone comped that person in there in the background, and I tell you why. Because especially in moments like this, where the camera is really, really shaky, you wouldn't see this much detail in this creature. It almost looks artificially sharpened, and that is because it's overlaid over the original footage. They did a good job of merging the two. Like, it's pretty well keyed and stuff, right? Like, so it sits in the perfect position. It doesn't wobble around as you get it. Some of the UFO footage we're sometimes looking at. So it perfectly sits in the position, but especially there, there was like 1 or 2 frames. Let me see if I can maybe pause it at those frames. Look, this is what I mean. Do you see this? This is not how this creature would look if it would be actually in the space running. It would be as blurry as everything else, but here is this creature, and it's very, very sharp. It's very crisp, and it has like a very defined outline in the midst of this very shaky environment. So it's clearly CGI, but it's a cool film. Some people in the comments are suggesting that it's a guy in a suit, because like, oh look, he's wearing shorts and sunglasses, which I can't really see it. I don't think so. How would you get an artifact like this then? That just doesn't make much sense to me. This is a clear digital artifact. I mean, unless they recorded him running somewhere on a treadmill in the studio and then they comped that in, so it is a guy in a suit, but it's comped in afterwards. I'm convinced that whatever is running after him was not there when that shot was recorded. That is comped in. But guys, that's just my theory. You can let me know your theories down in the comment section below. And my God, you know, we're on a roll today. We're doing one more, okay? Because it's Alien Day. It's International Alien Day today. No, it's actually not. But we're going to do one more nonetheless. And that is that Boyd Bushman, who passed away in 2014 before his death. He recorded himself giving his deathbed confession, in which he held up old photos of what he claims to be actual aliens. He described them as long-fingered and very friendly. He goes on to explain that he had a job at Area 51. It was to reverse engineer alien saucers. Damn, dude, they've got a high turnover over there. Like every other week, someone comes up who tells me that they've been working on reverse engineering tech in Area 51. But hey, there goes this guy. So he holds up these pictures. Unfortunately, you know, may he rest in peace. He did die or pass away in 2014. But he held up these pictures. That was part of his legacy, right? Keep in mind, this is important enough for him to mention this in his deathbed confession. So he knew he would be passing away. So he held these pictures up. And obviously, you know, the UFO scene is losing their mind. They're like, this is amazing. It's all real. 2 alien pictures. Why is this not blowing up? And everyone scratches their head. And as you know, I would like to believe, okay? I want to believe. Why not? If this guy puts it on his deathbed confession, I'm also inclined to say, yeah, probably. I mean, why would he present it? Well, people have done the digging, and it's basically, it's a Kmart toy. Some people claim that it used to be available at Walmart rather than Kmart. But let's be honest, okay? This is as clear as it gets. Obviously, these models are never going to be exactly one-to-one the same because they have custom paint jobs. Someone literally spray painted them at that time, so the spray paint will always be slightly different. But you can very, very much see that the intent was the same. The way the eyes look, the way it's got even a little second shadow over here, you know, like a dimple or something further back on his jaw, which he has here as well. It's identical. I would even go as far as saying, you know, look a little at details like the nose shape, the nose hole shapes. It's so identical that I would say they probably even come from the same mold. And people have done fairly extensive research on them. People are claiming, you know, they found other ones that still have the price tag on because other people then again claimed that they were never available at Kmart or Walmart. This is another example of what he showed, a picture that Boyd Bushman showed in his deathbed confession. Again, he claimed to have worked at Area 51, and they found out that the pictures she showed of alleged UFOs are copies of a very well-known digital illustration of a UFO on the internet. And I was like, how come you can see this is the same picture? But you can. Look at the little, I almost want to say like L-shaped, for lack of a better word, shape here. That's like a reflection on the UFO. It's the same here. Do you see this L-shaped reflection, right? With the darker ring above, which should see the darker ring, and then here this kind of dark triangle reflection that sits on the UFO. That's what you see up here. So it is definitely the same picture, and I mean, that's not even a good picture. It really looks like he just went as far as printing out like something that he found on the internet at the time. And there's more. I mean, he even showed like lots of pictures that were claimed to be authentic, real UFO pictures in this interview as well, and those were debunked as well and found to be like, you know, popular internet illustrations that anyone can really find. So it's pretty clear that none of this is real, as it always is. But I do kind of want to throw this question back to you guys. What do you think? Why do these people do this, right? I mean, okay, this guy, Boyd Bushman, maybe he did have a career in the military or whatever, and he knows he's going to die. Why does he spend his last time sitting down? Is it because he desperately wants like a legacy? Is that what he wants his legacy to be? Because he puts that out there. He knows it's lies, right? He knows that he found that picture on the internet and printed it out. He knows that the pictures of aliens are most probably a puppet. I don't think he believes his own lies. So why would he do this? Maybe leave that down in the comment section below. Why would a man tell these kinds of stories, which are fairly easy to debunk, in my personal opinion, when his life is about to end? Leave that down in the comment section below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I appreciate you watching. This was a long one, right? We did go on for a long time today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button. Show to me through smashing the like button. Subscribe. Join our Discord. Do all the things you need to do. I would very much appreciate that. And otherwise, I see you in the next one. I'm out. Bye. Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being here. Smash the like button if you enjoy the show. And in today's video, as always, we're going to look at a bunch of UFO videos, paranormal videos, unexplainable stuff. Try to make sense of it, explain it, possibly debunk it. So that's what we're going to do, as always, in this episode today. But before we get into today's clips, I want to share a little moment with you guys, okay? Because just 2 days ago, this massive meteorite, asteroid, I don't know, came down over Portugal. And as I was watching this event unfolding on social media, I was like, yeah, this is what would be happening if you would see, for example, a bright glowing light over an urban area. The other week we looked at this massive triangle, this pyramid hovering over the Pentagon, rotating, and we get like 2 or 3 views of it. This, what we saw with this event happening in Portugal, is what would happen if a bright light or a giant spaceship would be flying over some kind of urban area where millions of people live. And we're getting countless videos of this happening. Okay, so dash cam footage, we're getting doorbell footage, and all of these videos clearly show exactly the same thing. So it's visible for less than 10 seconds. I mean, well, yeah, around 10 seconds, I'm guessing. And the amount of footage we're getting is insane, okay? I mean, look, there's a point to be made about saying this is a meteorite, an asteroid, whatever. It's way high up in the sky. It was extremely bright. Also, it didn't happen at like 4 in the morning when less people are on the street. So I can see that there are arguments to be made against it. So I think every time you see a video of a giant UFO, some kind of light hovering over an urban area, and there's like one video of it, your alarm bell should be going off. If you have a city with more than 1 million people living in it and something like that flies over the city, this is the result you get. You get an unlimited amount of videos that show unmistakably the same thing, okay? Make of this whatever you want. I'm just saying, footage like this and events like that really should operate as a filter for you. If you're a UFO believer and you find a single video of a giant UFO over an urban area, then, you know, I mean, we can fairly assume, unless it's a huge coincidence, that it's probably not real. But anyway, let's get into the first video, and that kind of seamlessly links into what I just spoke about. Fire in the sky. Is it a meteorite? Is it not? So this one was spotted in Miami, Florida. Let's take a look. I don't think we have to watch the whole thing, because but I was puzzled by this, right? I saw this and I was like, okay, this is clearly moving. It's moving in the sky. And then check out what happens in about a second. And I appreciate she's cleaning the lens here. Okay, you want to have a nice clean lens without streaks going over the screen and all that. Look how big it gets. Look how it glows in some parts of these clouds, and then it moves past it. And you can clearly see that it's moving, that it's almost changing directions. So you can see if I'm fast forwarding through this footage, you can kind of see it really looks like some sort of fire in the sky. And then it kind of just descends what seems to be into outer space. So, puzzling footage. I really liked it. I wasn't aware of what it is exactly. But in this particular case, we even get community notes on Twitter telling us what it is. Okay, so this is just a SpaceX launch taken on July 29th, 2023, showing the Falcon Heavy Jupiter 3 Echo Star 24. And there's even a reference video. So you get an idea. And once you know this actually makes a lot more sense, right? Because you can really see the trajectory of it being like a rocket. And then also, the reason why it was so bright in the beginning of this video is probably because that was just post-launch. So it's fairly close to Earth, illuminating the clouds as it like flies through them. But then obviously as it gets higher and higher into space and closer to the edge of our atmosphere, then the light subsides. Obviously, there's less oxygen. You'll see the flame less bright. They're exploding off the tanks, the fuel tanks and all that. So the objects get smaller. And it just perfectly makes sense, right? It's exactly what it is. But again, whether it's a meteorite or whether it's an object like this would be puzzling if you don't know that there's a SpaceX launch. This would puzzle me for sure. If I would see this in reality, I wouldn't necessarily understand it, but that doesn't mean you should automatically jump to conclusions and think it's aliens and UFO, okay? So we got this one. Debunked! Next one on the list is a moon UFO, and you know I love those, okay? Like objects flying over the surface of the moon, people capturing them with their telescopes and stuff. So here we have a Japanese tweet, and this guy says, I hope the translation is correct, when astronomy enthusiasts were observing the moon, I accidentally captured a huge UFO about to land on the other side of the moon. Okay, so here he is capturing the moon. So he's zooming into the moon, and you can see there's a little white dot. Is there a little white dot on that top side of the moon? All right, and you can see, oh, look at this. There's a little object descending, coming almost out of this object that's hovering over the moon, seemingly going down to the surface, docking with it, right? And we don't know what's going on here. What is this? Could it possibly be a supply drop to the dark side of the moon? Because we all know there's loads of aliens on the dark side of the moon, right? We're all aware of this. We've seen the pictures of all those structures that are totally credible. Maybe I need to do a separate video about the structures on the moon at some point. But it's intriguing. You see this object coming down. It's, from our point of view, very, very small. However, people in the comments, in the Japanese comments, and I have translated most of these comments, to be honest, just to figure out what's going on, have found out that if this would be accurate, taking measurements of objects, of craters that are on the moon, this object would be 34 kilometers in length. Also, people have estimated from the distance of this object hovering above the surface of the moon, the ship going down to the surface would have needed to be like 10,000 miles per hour fast or something like this. Obviously, it all looks very small and very slow from our point of view, but if you would be on the moon, this would be moving extremely fast. This object would be extremely long and just ginormous. So here's my point. I personally think this is CGI, and you can kind of see it because there seems to be some disconnect of how this object tracks to the surface of the moon. If you look at it, every now and then it seems to be wobbling around. It's not perfectly sitting in place. And I understand, we're looking through the atmosphere of the Earth, right? Which obviously has like, or creates atmospheric distortion. So that would naturally kind of create this wavy feeling you get, which you see on the surface of the moon here as well. But again, it kind of comes back to what I said in the beginning. A 34-kilometer object hovering over the moon, and this is the only video that we're getting? Surely something like this would have been picked up by other observers, by other enthusiastic astronomers, by actual astronomers who are observing the moon. An object like that would not go under the radar, no pun intended. People would have found out, people would have registered it, and it would have been photographed from more than one angle. One more point to mention is, it's kind of, look, I don't know how exactly this camera technology works these days, you know, mobile phones zooming in like crazy into the moon and stuff, but you can kind of see as he's zooming into the moon here in the beginning, this is roughly the footage you would get with, or the amount of detail you would get with a mobile phone camera. Even the newer ones, you might get a little bit more detail out of it, but it's unlikely that you would get the detail that you see in the shot. Now, notice two things. Here, the moon looks really, really blurry in this particular shot, and the background is a very light blue. So now, as he's zooming in, suddenly the moon turns much more crisp, and the background darkens, right? Notice this, right? As he's zooming in. So my theory is, this is my theory, obviously I can't prove this, that these are two separate films, and the second part of the film might just be a static image, okay? So I think in this zoom that we're seeing now, he switched between two images. There's the crisp image of the moon, and there's his mobile phone footage of the moon. And he zooms in, he overlaid it with this crisp image of the moon, and now we're just looking at a static image. This is a static image. And then he overlaid the fake atmospheric distortion. He overlaid a little bit of the clouds, right? Because you can see some clouds flying by, which obviously is like coming from the Earth, right? These are the clouds that sit around the Earth. But this is all stuff you can fake fairly easily. It's not a huge task to add these clouds in there and add a little bit of like atmospheric distortion just when it comes to CGI. So I think it's fake. Personally, I think it's CGI. I think someone made it up. And I think they're basically using two different images when they did this zoom that you just saw there. And then this object that you see up here is just chopped in, right? It's just overlaid. They did that with 3D software, some kind of After Effects or whatever, augmenting it into it. Because even the tracking of the object to the moon, I don't think that's just the atmospheric distortion. I think that is also like unprofessional tracking, which looks like the object is like wobbling around a little bit and moves. It's not that well done, and even if they might get away with it for the untrained eye, for someone who looks at CGI and stuff like this all the time, this stands out. So I'm gonna give it, I don't have a concrete answer, but I mean, there are so many indicators. I'm gonna give it a small debunk, okay? Small, cute debunk. there it is. Now, the last clip we're going to look at today was sighted in Honolulu in Hawaii in October 2020. And it's funny, if you read the comments, right, there are loads of people saying, well, I didn't believe in UFOs until I was stationed in Pearl Harbor and saw them one night alone in Oahu. How do you say that? Oahu? And a bunch of people replying that they believe that Hawaii has to be a UFO hotspot. Guys, it's a UFO hotspot. So let's look at this UFO sighted over Honolulu in Hawaii in 2020. Now, these guys are swearing a lot in the background, so I'm going to turn it down. But they're basically like, what the F is this? What is it, mate? It's a UFO. And they're basically immediately jumping to conclusions. Now, it's funny because it kind of looks like an AR rifle with lights on it, right? It has like this elongated shape, the clip here, and then the handle back there. Well, people are assuming that it's a giant UFO, and it's got a bunch of lights that don't seem to follow any particular pattern. Some of the lights are blinking, right? You can see that. It does not seem to indicate, you know, like with some of UFOs, you got like a clear triangular shape. You got 3 lights underneath or whatever that have like shaped triangle. This seems to be just like an irrational shape. There's not much to this in terms of a defined shape, but since the video is fairly long, it's 2 minutes, I will assume that it's not CGI. I don't think this has been done in a computer, and whatever it is, I think it probably literally flew over Honolulu in Hawaii that time. Unfortunately, as it is so often, this was filmed with a potato, and not even a good potato, so we're getting really, really awful footage, but you get an idea, right? It is like an aggregation of lights that seem to be hovering over Honolulu. And I mean, to be honest, I look at stuff like this, and the first thing that comes to my mind is like, why would aliens have lights under their ships? That just makes no sense. Unless you want to communicate or you want to be seen. I will assume that aliens don't necessarily want to be seen. So why would you even consider putting these bright lights under your ship, which we see over and over again? But don't get me wrong, it is intriguing, especially with the blinking lights and stuff. That seems to indicate some kind of mechanical device, right? Like, what would be blinking like that unless it's an actual light that comes on and off? Now, there is an explanation for it that obviously nobody in the comments found out because everyone's going crazy about how Hawaii is a UFO hotspot. But what you see here is nothing else, and most likely, we don't know obviously, but it's most likely just a spent rocket. Okay, here's some footage of a spent rocket. And what this is basically, you know, these giant fuel tanks that sit on the side of rockets. At some point, they get blasted off, and they are not particularly precious. So this looks like this is some debris from one of those tanks that's just re-entering the atmosphere. And you can actually see that some of these pieces are blinking. Right here, it has the exact same effect. So not only is it this slightly odd constellation of lights, it also has the blinking going on, which is presumably because, you know, some of the objects are not constantly on fire as they re-enter the atmosphere, and they, you know, they come on and off, and they have this kind of flickering, blinking effect going on. So I think that's what it is. I think that's what people saw over Honolulu in Hawaii. And the video that you see here are confirmed rocket body fragments re-entering the atmosphere captured by an AMOS system camera, also over Hawaii. So I would say this one is debunked as well. Give it a small debunk, a quick debunk. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown. Again, if you would like to share your clips with me, then join our Discord. The link to that is down in the description. I'm always happy to see your clips. All these clips were submitted by people not being sure what they are, so I try my best to explain them. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join our Discord, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. I'm out. Bye.